Close the doors of your mind. Close the gates of your mind. Close the gates of your palace, your ba'ith, your ohal, your ohel, your tent, your mishkan, your mikdash, your haikal. The sentient body that you dwell inside. The sentient body that you live inside. The sentient body that you're supposed to govern with your lave, your makasba, your yetzer, your imaginations. For today is a day of freedom. Today is a day that Yahuwah has given to us as another shabath, that we may cease from our work, our own selfish self, that we may understand what it means that Yahuwah created the earth in 6 days and rested the 7th. To understand the renewing of your mind, your Chdsh lave, continually. Tamim. So today we acknowledge the one who made all the har of the earth, all that in the har, the rivers and streams on the earth, on the surface of the earth, the rivers and streams under the earth that you drink from your wells, and the rivers and streams that flow from his throne, from his Kisei, his Sapir throne, Yahuwah Elohim, who sits above you as you sit under his feet, as we speak right now. For we acknowledge him who made all the behemoth, the God, the Ramiz, and the Oath, all the creatures of the earth, the one who allows the Tahanim to swim in the oceans and the Yam, the one who allows all creatures in the earth to swim in the rivers and the streams, the one who allows the insectoids to burrow holes within the ground to hide from man whom they see as giants, Yahuwah Elohim. So as we move forward in this life, in this temporary life, this temporary holding place, as we transform ourselves by the renewing of our mind, being translated into the sons of Elohim, as we move toward the longest night, we move in the understanding of Yahushua Mashiach. We move in the understanding of him who rose from the grave, even 13 days after, even 49 days after he risen from the grave. And he was ascended on high and ascended to the highest Shamayim, above, past the Shamaims, to sit at his right hand of his Father again. And now they sit and wait, and he waits for his Father to give the instructions on what he should do next. And even as we sit here waiting, we know we must achieve an understanding of Bina Hamada'ah, that we raise us from the grave. So as we move forward in that understanding of Yahushua Mashiach. So this is the book of Yahusha, the book of Joshua, Yahusha chapter 1 and verse 7. This is the book of Joshua, Yahusha chapter 1. The book of Joshua, Yahusha chapter 1 and verse 7. And it says, only be strong and very courageous. That's all you need to do. Be strong and very courageous. So these are affirmations you need to tell yourself every single day. Being careful to do according to all the Torah that Mashah, my servant, commanded you. He said, doing all according to the commandments that Mashah, he commanded Mashah, his servant, he commanded you. So everybody has, that generation had a bunch of commandments they had to obey. When he led them out of Mizraim, they had a whole composite of understandings that they had to understand, teach their children, even the things that they did not understand. They had to inquire, they had to do many types of practices in order to understand it. But it says, do not turn from it to the right hand or to the left. He said, don't even turn to the right hand, that's your yad, or to your kaf, or your left hand. Why? Stay centered. Stay balanced within oneself. Stay balanced within oneself. You ever seen a fighter? A fighter can't fight all off balance. Right? You can't favor one hand from the other hand. You can't favor your left foot from your right foot. You got to stay balanced in between yourself. And guess what? Or to the left, that you may have good success in wherever you go, because you're going to be off balance. Because you think about it, you walking crooked and sideways, got muscle imbalance. Think about how you walking. You ain't going to have no success. What kind of success you going to have? You're going to have a crook back. You're going to have muscle imbalances. But guess what? This book of the Torah shall not depart from your mouth. So it shouldn't depart out of your mouth, because he said, Yaakov, we talked about this, Yaakov and Yasharal speak. Yaakov, Yasharal speak, because the first Adam was of the flesh, but the second Adam was a life-giving Ruach. Let not this book of the Torah depart out of your mouth, for this is your wisdom instructions in the sight of the nations, and the Goim. when you keep it in your tongue, your lashon, your language, then you won't depart from it. And then just like Devarim chapter 4 says, all these nations will say, what people have Yahuwah Elohim, the Elohim who created all things, so close to them? That's what happens. But when that Torah departs out of your mouth, then you know what happens? They don't say that about you anymore. They start blaspheming the Ruach. They start blaspheming the words that were Qahalath men, they were spoke by the Ruach Qahalath. Qahalath men wrote these things that they were moved by the Ruach Qahalath. So then they start blaspheming the Ruach because of your mouth. Right? And guess what? But you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. So see, that's why you got to meditate. Haggah. You got to do it all the time, or you're going to find yourself in disputes with hatred, jealousy, envy, strife, complaining, pride, mumbling, grumbling, victimization. You be a victim all the time. Right? You're going to have doubts and error. You're going to be doing many things, and you're going to find yourself in erratic behavior. But here we go. It says, for then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. That's how you get success. Have I not commanded you? So he said, I already did this already. Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. That's the whole point. And do not be dismayed. Don't be in like, oh man, and fall away. For Yahuwah, your Elohim, is with you wherever you go. So that's how you keep him wherever you go. He said, you can keep him anywhere you go. It doesn't matter where I go. It doesn't matter where you go, where you operate at. Whether you're not exercising, you're exercising. Whether you're sitting in the house, walk by the way, you lie down, you rise up. Whether you go to the store, to the grocery store, Yahuwah, all these things been here. Marketplace has been here. All these things been here. Yahuwah should be with you everywhere you go. Whether you're on a plane, whether you're not. Whether you're traveling on a ship or you're not. Whether you're in the middle of the ocean with a life jacket on. It don't matter. You need to make sure Yahuwah is always with you. He everywhere you go. This is how one's mindset has to be. So why we started there? Because everything happens for a reason. Right? This is the book of Psalms, Tahalim, chapter 118. Psalms chapter 118 and 10. Psalms chapter 118. Psalms chapter 118 and 10. Tahalim, Psalms chapter 118 and 10. All nations surrounded me. So aren't you surrounded by all goyim right now? In the name of Yahuwah, I cut them off. So why do you think he said I cut them off? Why would he say that? How do you cut something off? Right? This is the seventh day. How do you say the sword, knife, rest, law, word, perfection, the zon. This is the seventh day. He said, in the name of Yahuwah, I cut them off. What do you mean? With the debar. Because the debar should not what? Depart out of your mouth. They surrounded me on every side. So if they surround you in the north gate, in the south gate, the east gate, and the west, that's on every side. Guess what? In the name of Yahuwah, I cut them off. This debar should not depart of your mouth. Yahuwah is with you everywhere you go. They surrounded me like bees. Man, bees all around. Animal control, right? You're going to call animal control? You know, I say, I'm going to call animal control and get these bees out of my life. No. You're not going to do that. See, now if you've trained to call on other Elohims and other gods, then that's what you're going to do. They surrounded me like bees. They went out like a fire among thorns. I mean, it's just like fire among thorns. In the name of Yahuwah, I cut them off. That's why he said this book of the Torah should not depart of your mouth. You shall meditate on it, yom and night. I was pushed hard so that I was falling. See, that's the whole point. When you pushed hard, I assure you, the only reason people pushing you hard is to make you fall. Because this is why Yahushua came on the scene. He had a real good problem. He had a real big problem with people trying to push you so hard and make you fall. But Yahuwah helped me. How did he do that? How did he do that? This is the book of Matthew. This is the book of Matthew, This is the why people need to understand this. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 1. Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 1. Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 1. Then Yahushua said to the crowds and to his disciples, his Talmudim, right? His disciples, the people who follow him, they follow his teachings. The scribes and the Pharisees, the Sadducees and the Parashim sit in Moshe's seat. And we just read all them commandments. He said, man, meditate on it, all this book of the law that Moshe gave to you, right? But guess what? So do and observe what they tell you. See, do and observe what they tell you, right? Because they tell you a lot of things. They're supposed to only tell you the things that Moshe told you, right? But you know what they do? You know what they like to do? They like to add more stuff to your life. And then it becomes like, man, so you want me to do all that? And guess what happens? But do not do the works they do, because everybody's works ain't good. Remember, I told you, we talked about, Shaul even told you, though I or we, or any other Malachi teach any other truth other than what we said, let them be accursed, right? So this is what Yahushua trying to get you to understand. I don't care who the heck they are. It doesn't matter who they are, male, female, child. It doesn't matter, because man, woman, it doesn't matter. Because man and women all seek titles. So you can't really say which title they is. But I just say man and woman. For they preach, they Qahalath, but do not practice, right? So they tell you to do a whole bunch of stuff. They tie all them heavy burdens on you. And they push you hard and make you fall. They do it. But you got to have the bar in your heart and your mind. You have to. They tie heavy burdens hard to bear. See, they push you hard, make you fall now. This book of the Torah should not depart of your mouth. I mean, you should hug God on it day and night. If it's enough to please Yahuwah, you don't need to be going no further than that. You be like, you're gonna end up falling now. Crash course. You ever had a crash course? I'm gonna give you a crash course. Exactly. They tie heavy burdens hard to bear, and they lay them on people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to move them with their finger. They ain't gonna do them. They're going to tell you to do them, because you know why they do it? Because as long as you occupy with them heavy burdens, you'll never go and meditate on the Torah day and night. Matter of fact, only thing you're going to be doing is what they want you to do. Even though they just added it to your life. Right? They do all their deeds to be seen by others. That's all they're going to do. For they to make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. Right? They got the best clothes. Right, the best clothes don't mean you got the best life. You know what I'm saying? I got the best clothes, the best life. When a woman runs for a beauty pageant, they had everybody on their best clothes. Don't mean they have the best life though. You know how they put on all the clothes and they make themselves look beautiful, and everybody vote. Wow, this person is great. Judge according to outward appearance, right? You only get an hour and a half to judge if the person is actually worthy of the actual honor, right? Which in turn, you don't really know their life. You don't. You don't know what they do behind closed doors when it's nighttime, when the sun goes down. You don't know what they do. But it says right here, and they love the place of honor at the feast and the best seats in the congregation, the synagogues of Aydah, and greetings in the marketplace. I told you marketplace has always been here. Supermarkets have always been here. Places you go to go and buy some things, it's always been here. So please don't be thinking like marketplaces. Man, I've seen a new marketplace, man. It's never been done before. You see that place what they have in there? $200 for some beets. $500, man, it must be pure and righteous, right? And being called teacher by others. That's all they want. Rabbi, teacher, Marah. I don't even say the other word, but all these are all part of it. And you have one teacher. He says, but you are not to be called teacher, for you have one teacher, and you are all brothers and sisters. Why? Because once you understand that one teacher, you say you only got one. And then once you understand that one, then you understand there's only one Debar. There's only one Amunah. There was only one immersion. And there's only one type of way you need to actually live your life. Right? That's why you have one teacher. And call no man father on earth, for you have one father who is in Shammai. This is Psalms, going back to Psalms 118, Psalms 118. Tehillim 118 and 10. 118 and 14. Psalms Tehillim 118:14. Yahuwah is my strength and my song. He has become my Yasher, my salvation, my Yeshua, right? Glad songs of salvation are in the tents of the righteous. So when you have a glad song, understand, if you righteous and you have a real joyful song, understand, people of Satan, Shaitan ain't gonna want that. They ain't gonna like that stuff. They not. They don't like that stuff. And guess what? The right hand of Yahuwah does valiantly. That's why you think he made the song. Let me guess. He came up with the words himself. No, Yahuwah's right yard made the song. His hand, his yard, his right hand. That's why you gotta believe his name started with yard. Because that's what his name represents. Work. The right hand of Yahuwah exalts. Why do you think he makes the song with his right hand and then he exalts the song with his right hand? And this what? The right hand of Yahuwah does valiantly. Whose hand is it? I shall not die. So he said, if Yahuwah did all that for me, he said, I shall not die, but I shall live. And recount the deeds of Yahuwah. That's all you're doing. I'm going to recount it. How you recount it? Meditate on the bar human night, and you have your success. This book of the Torah shall not depart of your mouth. You shall meditate on it in human night. I'm going to keep recounting the deeds of Yahuwah because of it. Yahuwah has disciplined me severely. He said, man, he beat you down. Right? You ever been disciplined severely by Yahuwah? So then therefore you know what he's talking about right here. But he has not given me over to death. Now you see why Shaul told you now. Punished, but not killed though. Beaten, but not, I'm still here though. See, that's the problem. See, when you understand Yahuwah, now this Shaul, David, Dawid, right, even Yusuf, everybody got it. Even Mashah himself. But at the same time, I'm still here though. He said, I'm still here. I am not dead. And you know, some people hope you dead though. It's open to me the gates of righteousness. That's all it is. He said, man, I am still here. Open the gates up. All 12 of them. How many gates Yahuwah got? That I may enter through them. How many gates he got? 12. According to 12 matah, shalosh matah of Yasharah. And give thanks to Yahuwah. This is the gate of Yahuwah. The righteous shall enter through it. See, this is the problem. Some people close the gates. And guess what? I thank you that you have answered me and have become my salvation. How did he do that? The stone which the builders rejected has become the head of the corner. Because why? Why are the gates closed? Because they rejected you. You know what? You know the 12 gates that we read about. You know they ain't want that. They ain't want Yahushua in that gate. They closed all them 12 gates. You not coming up in Jerusalem. You ain't coming to teach anything up in here. Right? Because they rejected him. He was the person that was going to build Jerusalem again. But they didn't want him in there teaching them. That's why this is the whole point. They really don't want you there. They want you to be silent and let me teach you. But in actuality, Yahushua, they rejected Yahushua. He said the stone which the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. He's like, he the cornerstone of the whole place. And you can lock the cornerstone out the gates of the 12 gates. You don't even want the cornerstone in there. Because you know why? If the cornerstone get in there, that means everybody got to reconcile. Everybody got to say they sorry. Everybody got to get rid of their grudges and their hatred and their jealousy and their envy and their strife and complaining and their pride and their mumbling and rebellion and all the stuff that they don't want to resolve. If you come in the gate, that's what you're going to have to do though. You got to cast out all your animals and all your sacrifices, right? You got to get all your stuff out of there. Man, let's lock this man up out of here. He ain't coming up in here. This is Yahuwah's doing and marvelous in our eyes. Now you see why he tell you, let us go outside, let's suffer outside the camp. Because people that understand, they were going to lock you out anyway. This is the day that Yahuwah has made, and let us rejoice and be glad in it. Right? So this is, of course, you know, this is the 25th day of the 4th month. The 25th day of the 4th month, we move towards the longest night. You know, the fourth month represents many other things that can take place during this time. It's summertime. So all the roots and the things that you didn't get rid of in your life are now starting to spring back up in your life, and you're starting to see them in your heart and your mind, and you're starting to see it transforming who you are, and you're starting to see the seeds that are in your heart and your mind. Either you're going to be speaking these seeds, or you're going to be saying these things, or they're going to be rehearsed in your mind. And you have to, with the bar, you have to destroy them. And if you don't, you're going to find yourself in an erratic behavior within yourself. And this is a part of it. Why? Because everything that one does has to be judged according to Torah. And everything that one does has to be examined, right? So this is the book of 1 Kings. 1 Kings chapter 16. 1 Kings chapter 16. 1 Kings chapter 16 and verse 21. 1 Kings chapter 16 verse 21. 1 Kings chapter 16 verse 21. The people of Yasharal were divided into two parts. Half of the people followed Tibnah, the son of Ginah, right, to make him king, and half followed Omri, right? It's 1 Kings 16:21. So you have, everybody was divided. Half of them followed such and such. Half of them followed Tibni, the son of Ginah, to make him king, and half followed Omri. But the people who followed Omri overcame the people who followed the son of Ginah. See, when you start to get divided, there's going to be a war. They're going to be fighting. It's a part of human nature. I follow such and such, and I follow such and such. So therefore, whoever is greater, let them win, right? That's what happens, compete. So Tibni died. See? And then what happens when you start getting divided and people start getting divided? Somebody dies. Somebody dies. And Omri became king. You see, and Omri became king after he died. See? And that's what happens. The greater wins. And guess what? And in the first year of Asa, the king of Yehuda, Omri began to reign over Yasharal. And he reigned for 12 years. He reigned for 12 years. 6 years he reigned in Tisra. And he bought the hill of Samaria from Shemer for 2 talents of silver, and he fortified the hill and called the name of the city he built Samaria, after the name of Shemer, the owner of the hill. So he literally bought a hill and he called it Samaria. And what did he do? After the name of Shemer, the owner of the hill, the previous owner. He named it after the previous owner. You know, can you imagine buying a piece of property and it's named after the person you say you bought the land, and then you say, man, being that it's named like that, I like that name. Let me name it right after the name of the person who used to own the land. He called it Samaria. But the man died. He said, hold up. After Omri overcame the people, then Tibni died, and Omri became king, right? Right, it's the book of Matthew, chapter 26. Matthew, chapter 26, and verse 31. Matthew 26. Actually, Matthew 27. Matthew 27 and verse 11. Matthew 27 and 11. Matthew 27 and 11. Now Yahushua stood before the governor, and the governors asked him, are you the Malach of the Yahudim? Are you the king of the Yahudim? Is that you? Yahushua said, you have said so. You said it. But when he was accused by the chief priests, the High Kahan, and the elders, he gave no answer. He said, I ain't answering y'all. I ain't answering y'all. Then Pilate said to him, do you not hear how many things they testify against you? Because they're in court. You ever been judged without a court proceeding? They already judged me without a court proceeding, without any type of person there. Nobody was there. They just automatically started judging me, and the next thing you know, everybody's saying all these things that ain't even true. I ain't even been judged properly. And guess what? And there's nothing you can do about it. He was like, man, everybody got this judgment. He's like, yeah, that's the judgment they said. So that's the judgment that's on you. But he gave him no answer, not even to a single charge, so that the governor was greatly amazed. Why? Skipping over to verse 27. Then the soldier and the governor took Yahusha into the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole battalion before him, and they stripped him and put on a scarlet robe on him, and twisting a crown of thorns, they put on his head and put a reed in his right hand, and kneeling before him, they mocked him, saying, Hail, Malachah the Yahudim. They were mocking him. Hail, Malachah the Yahudim. Look at you. And they spit on him and took a reed and struck him on the head. And when they had mocked him, they stripped of his robe, of his clothes, and led him away to crucify him. All this took place, but why is it important? This is the book going to verse 38. The two robbers who were crucified with him, one on the right hand and one on the left, and those who passed by deriding him, wagging their heads, saying, You who destroyed the temple and built it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the son of Elohim, come down from the cross. So that also the chief priests and the scribes mocked him and saying, He saved others, he cannot save himself. He is the king of Yasharal, let him come down from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in Elohim, let him deliver him now. Why? Because read it in 2 Kings chapter 16, everybody was divided. Omri and Tani, everybody was divided. But then Omri ended up overcoming Timni, and guess what? He ended up dying. And then he ended up becoming king in his stead, because he was more stronger. And it says, For he said, I am the son of Elohim. And the robbers who were crucified him also reviled in the same way. So all of these people were divided within themselves. All of them. And somebody ended up dying. When you have division, somebody ended up dying. You don't hear all these things they testify against you? Because he ain't never get a chance to prove they were true. Some people say he was innocent. Some people say he was guilty. But at the same time, everybody was divided. There was not one judgment. There was multiple judgments and multiple words coming out of people's mouths. Right, going verse 45. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over the land to the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Yahushua cried out with a loud voice, Aliyah, Aliyah, lama sabachthani, that is, my Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? That's what happens. When you divide it, that's what happens. Yahuwah forsakes you and he gives you over, and you name the land after Samaria, after the previous owner of the land. Because you won the battle and you conquered, and now you feel great about yourself, so I'm going to name it right after the person who used to own the land that I bought it from. And I made myself a hill. And I'm a king now, and I made myself a hill, and I call it Samaria. If some of the bystanders hearing it, this man is calling for all Yahweh. And one of them at once ran and took a sponge and filled it with sour wine. Why? Because that's all a part of it. That's all a part of it. Going back to 1 Kings, chapter 16. 1 Kings, chapter 16. Yeah. 1 Kings, chapter 16 and verse 10. Let's see, where we at? Yeah. 1 Kings chapter 16 and verse 10. 1 Kings chapter 16 and verse 10. It says, And Zimri came in and struck him down and killed him in the 25th year of Asa, the king of Yehuda. Going back over to... Who was that? Verse 21. 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 21. Then the people of Yasharal were divided into two parts. Half of the people followed Tibni, the son of Ginath, to make him king, and half followed Omri. But guess what happened? But the people who followed Omri overcame the people who followed Tibni, the son of Ginath, so Tibni died, because they were divided. And Omri, the king, became king. And in the first year of Asa, the king of Yehuda, Omri began to reign over Yasharal, and he reigned for 12 years. 6 years he reigned in Tisra, right? You see what? Now you see, why is this darkness in the 6th hour? He reigned 6 years, and he bought the hill of Samaria. Where was Yahushua crucified at? They brought him to a place called a place of skulls. It was a hill of skulls. It was they literally crucified him there. In Samaria, from Shemer, for 2 talents of silver. How did they deliver Yahushua over? For 30 pieces of silver. And guess what? And he fortified the hill. He fortified it so nobody could stop him on the hill. And then the mountain, and called the name of the city that he built, Samaria. And after the name of Shemer, the owner of the hill. Omri did what was evil in the sight of Yahuwah. This is what the whole point of the whole thing. Why do you think Yahushua was crucified on the hill, on a place called Skull? Because people did evil in his sight, and did more evil than all who were before him. Everybody did evil before Yahushua Mashiach came on saying Yahuwah in the flesh. He said, all that came before me are thieves and robbers. He said, everybody did evil before he came on the scene, before he even showed up. For he walked in all the ways of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. And guess what? And in the sins that he made Yasharal to sin. Provoking Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yasharal, to anger by their idols. See? By their what? By their idols. By their idols. So what do you think? If you worship idols, you think you're going to be prosperous? You think your prosperity is going to be great if you worship idols? No, your prosperity is going to diminish completely. And guess what? Now the rest of the acts of Omri that he did, and the might that he showed, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the king of Yasharal? And Omri slept with his fathers and was buried in Samaria, and Ahab, his son, reigned in his place. So who? His son. So who gave birth to Ahab, Mr. Ahab himself? Oh, he was the father of the man who did evil in the sight of you, who ended up killing a man, ended up making a big old city on top of a mountain and naming it after the previous owner and calling it Samaria. Then he ended up doing evil in Yahuwah's sight. Then all these things, they wrote it down. Notice how his evil went with him to the grave. And then his evil son took over his place. And then now you see his evil son in his stead. All at the same time. Mr. Ahab himself. Right? His name means love, right? That's what they say. But it says, and his son reigned in his place. That's what happens. Your son gonna do it. The son can only do what the father do. Whatsoever the father do, the son does likewise. It's always been like that for thousands of years. And in it says, going over to verse 29, and in the 38th year of Asa, the king of Yehuda, Ahab, the son of Omri, began to reign over Yasharal, and Ahab, the son of Omri, reigned over Yasharal in Samaria 22 years. How do you think we got 22 letters in the alphabet? Why do you think he went all the way to the top? He said he went all the way to the aleph to the two. To two, right? He went all the way to the 2, right? 22 letters, 22 years. And Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of Yahuwah. Why? Because it's the very same thing his father did. More than all who were before him. See, this is why Yahushua came on the scene. All that came before me are thieves and robbers. Ain't nobody more righteous than me. Why do you think Yahushua said that? And guess what? And as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, he took for his wife Isabel. Here we go. He did all that. He was already adulterous with Yahuwah. He already went against Yahuwah, right? And now he done took another woman. Took his wife Isabel, the daughter of Athabal, king of the Sidonians, and went and served Baal and worshiped him, right? That's what you're going to have to do to get a woman like that. Or any woman, any other Elohim other than Yahuwah. You're going to have to worship their gods. That's the only way you're going to keep them. You're going to have to worship their gods. And if you don't worship their gods, you get a divorce. They'll divorce you, I assure you. If they practice voodoo, sorcery, necromancy, spirit challenge, and they with you, and you say you believe on Yahuwah, ain't no only way you're going to keep them, you got to worship their gods. That's the only way. And he erected, and guess what it says? Yeah, of course he did. And he erected an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he built in Samaria. See, he was a builder, right here. I'm a builder. You know how you say, I'm a builder, right? I built that thing, right? You can build a whole bunch of stuff. So you can be evil and build, and you can be good and build. It don't make you any different. You are an evil builder, or you a good builder. It doesn't matter which builder you think you are, male or female. I built this, I built that, I built this, I built this business, but yet you say it's not. You swindle people with it. So you can build something. But guess what? He erected an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he built for Samaria. And Ahab made an Asherah. But he had to worship that God to keep that woman. That woman said, you better worship my God, Asherah. You better worship my God, Baal. You better worship my God, or I'm out of the door. And he had to build a whole altar to him. And Ahab did more to provoke Yahuwah, the Elohim Yasharal, in anger than all the kings who were before him. Right? So that means he was jealousy, right? We talked about Ruach Kinah. You provoke Yahuwah to jealousy. You know what happens when you do that? Who can stand before jealousy? Who can stand before Kinah? In the days of Heliel, Bethal, it says, in the days of Heliel of Bethal built Jericho. He laid the foundation at the cost of Abiram, his firstborn. What do you mean at the cost of his firstborn? It's called child sacrifice. It's called killing. You know how you kill a child? You ever kill? They kill a child so you can advance your sin. That's what some people do. And set up it says set up its gates at the cost of the youngest son of Zegeb. You ever killed a child sacrifice? It's called child sacrifice. According to the word of Yahuwah that he spake to you by Yahusha, the son of Nun, right? These are all a part of it. All this is a part of it. But these are all a part of this understanding. But what's the point of this? Right, this is the book of I think it's because that's the whole point. Right, this is 1 Kings chapter 17. We're actually going to 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 1. 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 1. 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 1. 1 Kings chapter 18 and verse 1. After many days, the word of Yahuwah came to Aydah in the 3rd year, saying, Go, show yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth. So Aydah went to show himself to Ahab. Now the famine was severe in Samaria. See, this is going to happen to you when you start to do evil inside Yahuwah. You start to name things after other gods, and then you start to build altars in it. Then now you start to get the famine that Yahushua Mashiach will be talking about. There are going to be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. That's what you're going to get in your life. You're not going to be prosperous. A famine means you're not going to be prosperous. There's not going to be any rain. And they have called Aydah, who was over the household. Now Aydah feared Yahuwah greatly. See, it doesn't matter. And guess what? And when Isabel cut off the Nabiim of Yahuwah, Aydah took 100 Nabiim and hid them by 50s in a cave and fed them with bread and water. And Ahab said to Aydah, Go through the land to all the springs of water and to all the valleys. Man, check all the water vessels and every place where all the waters are. Perhaps we may find grass and save the horses and the mules alive and not lose some of the animals. See? He's trying to get him to continue to do some work for him so that he won't lose and have any losses in his life. Even though he worshiping idols, even though he built altars to Baal, even though he worshiping other gods, even doing evil in Yahuwah's sight, and he building too. So they divided the land between them to pass through it. And Ahab went in one direction by himself, and Aydah went in another direction by himself. Right, so you got good and evil. So you got one good, you got Ahab, who was evil, and then you had Aydah, who was good. And they divided themselves. They were divided. And as Aydah was on the way, behold, Aydah met him. He's like, man, so where Aydah going to meet at? with the good person, the one who feared Yahuwah greatly. I'm going to go meet with you. And guess what? And Aydah recognized him and fell on his face and said, is it you, my master? Oh, Yahoo, he recognized him. Why? Because he was good. He feared Yahuwah greatly. You ain't gonna recognize him if you ain't fear Yahuwah greatly. That's why I say every eye gonna see him, right? But actually, everybody not gonna see him the way you think you're gonna see him. Because everybody can't see him. And he answered him, is it I? Go tell your master, behold, all Yahoo is here. He said, go tell your master, all Yahoo is here. Because he was a good person who feared Yahuwah greatly, who loved Yahuwah, right? But Ahab didn't. That's why he hit the ground. That's why Aydah hit the ground. He said, go tell your master, all Yahoo is here. So what do you think it's going to be like when all Yahoo come back here to the earth? Man, he said, all Yahoo ain't coming back here. What do you think it's going to be like when he come back? And he said, how have I sinned? See, this is why you don't need to pay attention. What do you think going to happen when he come back? Have I sinned? What do you mean, have I sinned? That you would give your servant into the hand of Ahab to kill me? He's like, man, you going to try to get me killed. You going to tell Ahab that you here? You trying to get me killed, huh? And as Yahuwah, your Elohim lives, there is no nation or kingdom where my master has not sent to seek you. He's like, you know, you got a death penalty on your neck. So you think he still ain't got no death penalty on his neck? You think all Yahoo still ain't got no death penalty on his neck? Why do you think Yahuwah took him? So you telling me when he comes back to taste death again, you think, oh, let me guess, he ain't never tasted death yet. So you think, I remember that man, all Yahoo. You think these spirits and these demons don't know all Yahoo's still alive? That's the whole point of this thing. And guess what? There is no nation or kingdom where my master has not sent to seek you. And when they would, say he is not here, he would take an oath of the kingdom or nation that they had not found you. So they would take an oath. And now you say, go tell your master, behold, all Yahoo's here. He said, you that bold? Why do you think Yahushua said, whom do you seek? He said, Yahushua now, he said, I need Yahuwah. Go tell your master, it's me who I am. All Yahoo is here. Why do you think Yahushua did that when he came and got him on totality at night? And as soon as I have gone from you, the Ruach of Yahuwah will carry you, I know not where. He said, and then I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go tell you all Yahoo, I know where all Yahoo at, and then you, Ruach, going to take you away, and then I ain't going to see you ever again. So you trying to set me up. And as soon as I have gone from you, the Ruach of Yahuwah will carry you that I know not where. And so when I come and tell Ahab, he cannot find you, he will kill me. This is the whole point. He said, I can't find him. He said, Yahushua left on the 5th day of the 3rd month, on the 5th day of the 3rd month. And now you trying to tell me Yahushua here now? He said, I don't see him. Where he at? Man, they gonna kill me. Because I'm telling you about him, he ain't here yet. Where he at? You saying he coming, right? Where he at? You say you know where he at. Where he at? Although I, your servant, have feared Yahuwah from my youth, has it not been told, my master, that I did what I did when Isabel killed the Nabi'im of Yahuwah, how I hid 100 men of Yahuwah's Nabi'im by 50s in a cave and fed them with bread and water? You say, you see what I did? And now you say, go tell your master, behold, all Yahoo is here, and he will kill me. And all Yahoo said, as Yahuwah of hosts lives, before whom I stand, I will surely show myself to him today. So Aydah went to meet Ahab and told him, and Ahab went to meet Yahoo. And when Ahab saw Yahoo, Ahab said to him, is it you, the troubler of Yasharal? Notice he didn't bow. He was an evil person. He didn't fear Yahuwah. Notice he ain't hit the ground though. You the troubler of Yasharah. I know you are. You that person who be saying all these things. You're that troubler. You causing all this chaos. Ahab. You know Ahab, right? And he answered, I have not troubled Yasharah, but you have in your father's house, because you have abandoned the commandments of Yahuwah and followed Baals. He said, you worship other gods. Now therefore send and gather all the men of Yasharah to Mount Carmel, right? And the 450 prophets, Nabi of Baal, and the 400 prophets of Asherah, whom eats at Isabel's table. He said, you know who eats at Isabel's table, because you know what Isabel does. She teach my servants, seduce my servants to commit fornication, to worship other gods. And guess what? And they eat at her table. So Ahab sent all the people of Yasharah and gathered the prophets and Nabi'im together at Mount Carmel, right? So that's what happened. But what's this got to do with anything, right? So this is the book of so this is the book of Odes of Solomon. This is the book of Odes of Solomon. Odes, O-D-E, Shalom. Odes of Solomon. Odes of Solomon, chapter 24. Odes of Solomon, chapter 24, and verse 4. Odes of Solomon, chapter 24, and verse 4. Odes of Solomon, chapter 24, and verse 4. It says, the bird began to fly, and every creeping thing died in its hole. And the chasms were opened and closed. And they were seeking Yahuwah as those who are about to give birth. He said the birds were seeking Yahuwah as those about to give birth. But he was not given to them for nourishment. But he said, but he was not given to them for nourishment because he did not belong to them. He said he didn't belong to them. How many prophets? You see all those Nabi'im and prophets that were eating at Isabel's table? He said they were all seeking, but he said they didn't belong to them. They did not belong to them. But the chasm were submerged in the submersion of Yahuwah, and they perished in that thought with which they had remained from the beginning. It says, for they labored from the beginning, and the end of their labor was life. It says, and all of them who were lacking perished, because they were not able to express the word that they might remain. And Yahuwah destroyed the thoughts. He said, make sure you have all the prophets and Nabi'im of Baal and Asherah, and make sure they all at Mount Carmel, right? And all those who had not the truth with them. For they were lacking in wisdom. And what else? They who exalt themselves in their mind. Now you see, he said you bought a whole hill of Samaria, built an altar to Baal, and then you put all these people in there, these prophets and Nabi'im in there, and they eat at Isabel's table because she run your household. And then you have all these people boasting about how great they are. But guess what he said? For they were lacking in wisdom, they who exalt themselves in their mind. So they were rejected. And guess what? Because the truth was not with them. Going back to 1 Kings. Going back to 1 Kings. 1 Kings chapter 18. 1 Kings chapter 18 and verse 21. 1 Kings chapter 18 verse 21. And all Yahoo came near to all the people and said, how long will you go limping between two different opinions? Now you see what happens when you divide it. Why do you think they were divided on the totality? Wait, let's see will all Yahoo will come and save him. He called it for all Yahoo. See, they were divided. How long are you going to be between two opinions? If Yahuwah is Elohim, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. It don't matter. You can follow. You ain't got to follow Yahushua everywhere you go. You ain't got to follow him. You ain't got to follow Yahuwah everywhere you go. And the people did not answer him a word. Now you see why Yahushua didn't answer him a word. You hear all these things they say about you? And they answer him not a word. Because they thought he followed Baal. They thought Yahushua Mashiach followed Baal. They thought that he was worshiping demons and casting out demons by Beelzebub. Not even knowing, they answered him not a word on all Yahoo a word on the things that he was convicting them on. Then all Yahoo said to the people, even I only am left a Nabiim of Yahuwah, but Baal's Nabiim are 450 men. He's like, man, it's 1 against 450 right now. It's 1 against 450 right now. Let 2 bulls be given to us, and let them choose 1 bull for themselves, and cut it in pieces and lay it on the wood, but put no fire to it. And I will prepare the other bull and lay it on the wood, and put no fire to it. And you call upon the name of your Elohim, and I will call upon the name of Yahuwah. And the Elohim who answers by fire, he is Elohim. And all the people answered, it is well spoken. And all Yahoo said to the Nabiim of Baal, choose for yourselves 1 bull and prepare it first, for you are many. He's like, y'all can do it. You know how many people y'all got? You got 450 people. And call upon the name of your Elohim, but put no fire to it. And they took the bull that was given, and they prepared it, and called upon the name of Baal from the morning until noon. They had a morning sacrifice and an evening sacrifice, even noon, right? Same thing you have. O Baal, answer us. But there was no voice and no answer. And they limping around the altar that they had made, and at noon all Yahoo mocked them, saying, cry aloud. Why do you think Yahushua mocked at the 6th hour? Why do you think he cried out from the 6th to the? Why do you think he cried out in the 6th and the 9th hour? Why do you think he did all that? And they looked around the altar that they had made, and at noon all Yahoo mocked them, saying, cry aloud, for he is a Elohim. Why do you think all the scribes and the Pharisees and the high priests mocked Yahushua Mashiach? Because they were worshiping Baal. They were worshiping other gods. Either he is musing or observing, or he is relieving himself, or he's on a long journey, or perhaps he is asleep and must be awakened. And they cried aloud and cut themselves after their customs with the swords and lances until the blood gushed upon them. Why? That's why I think you should cry out twice on totality. They cried out one time, they cried out again. Because he had to bear all the sins of this. And at midday past, they raved on until the time of the offering of the oblation. They did it always at the evening time. They raved within themselves. Why do you think Yahushua had to stay on the cross until the evening time, to the preparation day before the 15th day of the first month? Why do you think he had to do all that? But there was no voice. No one answered, nor one paid attention. Isn't that what Zachariah said? But they refused to pay attention. Right? And Yahoo said to all the people, come near to me. And all the people came near to him. And he repaired the altar of Yahuwah that had been thrown down. And Yahoo took 12 stones, according to the number of the 12 tribes of the sons of Jacob. That's how you know. That's how you know when you have become back to Yahuwah himself. When the altar is repaired and you come back to the understanding of the 12 tribes of Yasharal. If you don't understand that, then you worshiping Baal. If you don't believe that the 12 tribes have that type of significance in the Torah, you don't have the right Elohim. This is why these things are here. And all the people came near to him, and he repaired the altar of Yahuwah and that had been thrown down. All Yahoo took 12 stones, according to the number of the 12 tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of Yahuwah came, saying, Yasharal shall be your name. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of Yahuwah. Why? Because the stone which the builders rejected became the head of the corner. And he made a trench about the altar, right? So that's one man taking 12 stones, that's 13. And as great as would contain 2 seahs of seed. And he put the wood in order to cut the bull in pieces and laid it on the wood. And he said, fill your 4 jars with water and pour it on the burnt offerings on the wood. He said, well, he got 4 jars. You got 4 gates, 3 to the north. You got 12 gates, but you got 4 quadrants. How you say it? 4 of them. 4 transition times. 4 seasons. 4 transition times. You had 4 days to 360. It's 364 days. He took 4 jars. And what did he do? And he said, do it a second time. Now you see why he had a second pasuk. He said, what? Do it again. Now you see why he had a second pasuk. Do it a second time, and they did it a second time. Did you? And he said, do it a third time. Didn't they do it a third time too? And the water ran around the altar and filled the trench also with water. Wasn't a big famine in the land too? Oh, there was a famine because of all them 450 men. But then he said, you know what? What happened? Where the water came from? Out of nowhere. For some reason, water started pouring out everywhere. After you did it first time, second time, third time, he said, man, all this water started coming out. Where all this water come from? I don't know. It must be something we must have did with Yahuwah in order for the water to come out. But guess what? Why didn't they pierce Yahushua in the side out came blood and water? And at the time of the offering of the oblation, Yahu the Nabi came near and said, O Yahuwah, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yasharal, let it be known this day that you are the Elohim in Yasharal, and that I am your Ibad, and that I have done all these things at your Debar. Now you see why it's a meditate on the Debar human night. You'll have good success, because there was a famine in the land. There was no water. He told Abaya, he said, man, you need to go find me some water. But he said, go tell your master Ahab, Yahu is here, because I have something to do for you. But first, I got to get you back to the Elohim of Yasharal, because that's the only way you're going to get any water. Because you so busy worshiping Baal, you're one in the famine land, and you still want to keep transgressing until send Abaya to go find you some water for your animals don't die. When you need to be worrying about why you done left Yahuwah Elohim. This is why Yahushua came. People say, wow, all that stuff, he did all that. And guess what? And I have done all these things at your word. Answer me, O Yahuwah, answer me, that this people may know that you, O Yahuwah, are Elohim, and that you have turned their hearts back. That's the whole point of this whole thing. To turn your heart back. Then the fire of Yahuwah fell and consumed the burnt offering and the wood and the stones and the dust and licked up the water that was in the trench. And when all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, Yahuwah, he is Elohim. Yahuwah, he is Elohim. How you going to get him back? Why do you think Yahushua said, my Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? Yahuwah, he is Elohim. Yahuwah, he is Elohim. Ain't that something? And he said, why he did all that? For you. To bring you back. Because what's the whole point of all Yahoo coming? To bring you back. That was the whole point of him coming. You see, Yahuwah gives you a whole explanation. He said, make sure all of them at Mount Carmel. Make sure they all there. And Yahoo said to them, seize the Nabi'im of Baal and let not one of them escape. He said, you can't let them people get out. Once you done seen that, think about it. You can't let not one of them go. He's like, man, them false Nabi'im, boy, they gonna mess everything up. Right? And they seized them, and Yahoo brought them down to the brook Kishon. Say what? He brought them to where? Where did he bring them to? The brook Kishon. I don't know if that's right. Why are you trying to put this 1 Kings chapter 18? 1 Kings chapter 18 and 40. They try to change up stuff. Right, so that word for 1 Kings chapter 18 and 40. 1 Kings chapter 18 and 40 is the brook Kishon, winding, river of Palestine. Yeah, interesting. And it says, and he brought them to the brook Kishon and slaughtered them there. He slaughtered them at the river. Now he said, all that immersion Yahushua had put him on. It was immersion to his what? For all that immersion to Yahushua was immersion to his death. You immersion to his death, that you may turn back to the 12 tribes, the 12 stones, to see the water and see Yahuwah, your hand. Yahuwah is Elohim. Yahuwah is Elohim. You see him now, and then now you're saying, okay, now what you want to do? I want to be immersed in the river. He said, I'll put you to death right now. In the river, by being immersed. All that immersion Yahushua had put on his death. That's what happened. And guess what? And Aydah said to Ahab, go up, eat and drink, for there is a sound in the rushing of the rain. He said, man, there's a sound in the rushing of the wind. Why do you think it said, when they were in the house, they said it came a sound like a rushing mighty wind, like a rainstorm. You know how you have a rainstorm? Before the storm clouds come, be a dark cloud, and next you know. But he said, and all Yahoo said to Ahab, go up and eat and drink, for there is a sound of rushing of rain. So Ahab went to eat and to drink. And Yahoo went up to the top of Mount Carmel, and he bowed himself down on the earth and put his face between his knees. And he said to his servant, go up now, look toward the sea. And he went up and looked and said, there is nothing. And he said, go again. How many times? Twice, right? Go again 7 times. He said, go 7 times. How many muads we got? Muads. 7. You gotta go 7 times. And what happens after you go 7 times? You gotta do all 7. And on the 7th time, he said, behold, a little cloud like a man's hand is rising out of the sea, right? Rising from the sea, his yard. It's like a man's yard. You gotta get all the way to 7. It's like a man's yard coming out of the sea. And he said, go up and say to Ahab, prepare your chariot and go down, lest the rain stop you. Because the rain done came back, because Yahuwah done showed who he was. And all Yahoo executed judgment, and the people were immersed, or how you say, destroyed. And then he said, go up and eat, the rain coming. And then he said, man, I saw Yahuwah's yard in the midst of all that. And then what happened? He said, man, it's getting ready to rain. Because Yahuwah, it's been a famine in Samaria for a long time. And that famine that was caused by who? Who was the famine caused by? Right? Because everybody, we talk about Ahab's father, because he was the father, right? Ahab was the father, right? And he made all that, he did evil, Ahab did evil in the sight of Yahuwah. Right? He did the same thing. But this is the whole point. Right, so this is the book of, we almost finished. Sorry. This book of 1 Kings chapters, I think it's 15. But let's go. 1 Kings 15. Actually, let's go to 1 Kings 21. 1 Kings 21 and 1. 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 Now Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard in Jezreel beside the palace of Ahab the king of Samaria. And after this, Ahab said to Naboth, give me your vineyard that I may have it for a vegetable garden, because it is near my house, and I will give you a better vineyard, a kerem, for it seems good to you, and I will give you its value in money. And Naboth said to Ahab, Yahuwah forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my fathers. He said, Yahuwah forbid. Why would he give you the inheritance of my father? And Ahab went into his house vexed and sullen because of what Naboth the Jezreelite had said to him. And he said, for he had said, I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers. See, that's what happens. When you have somebody who's full of greed and they want everything you have, and you say, I ain't giving you everything, I ain't giving you my inheritance of my fathers. You know what happens after, you know what they do after that? And he lay down on his bed and turned away his face and would not eat no food. They start to fast. Now he done laid in his bed, and now he start to go, you want to go fast because you full of greed and somebody ain't sell you something because it's right by your house. And now you soaking and now you fasting for a demon. Because that's what it is. You fasting for a demon. Why do you think he in the bed soaking and ain't eat no food? Because he's fasting for a demon. And Isabel, his wife, came to him and said to him, why is your ruach so vexed that you eat no food? Right? That's the whole point. That demon needs strength. You know how it is? That shadim needs strength. And that demon, just like you fast, people fast for other spirits, same thing. They fast for Yahuwah or they fast for other spirits. But that demon don't need no food right now. And he said to her, because I spoke to Naboth the Jezreelite and said to him, give me your vineyard for money, or else, if it please you, I will give you another vineyard for it. And he answered, I will not give you my vineyard. And Isabel, his wife, said to him, do you not govern Yasharal? Do you not have power? Arise and eat bread, and let your heart be cheerful, and I will give you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. I'm going to give it to you. So she wrote letters to Ahab in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal. And she sent the letters to the elders and the leaders who lived in Naboth in his city. Right? And she wrote in the letters, proclaim a fast and set Naboth at the head of the people. Right? So now Ahab was fasting in bed. Now she's saying, proclaim a fast. Right? But she put it in her husband's cover, right? Because he wrote it in her husband's name. She forged the signature. But she put her husband, made it look like it was her husband doing it, the actual orders, but it was actually her. And set Naboth at the head of the people, and set two worthless men opposite him, and let him bring a charge against him, saying, you have cursed the Elohim and the king. Then take him out and stone him to death. In the middle of the city, and the elders and leaders who lived in the city did as Isabel had sent word to them, as it was written in the letters that she had sent to them. And they proclaimed a fast and set Naboth at the head of the people. And the two worthless men came in and sat opposite him. And the worthless men brought a charge against Naboth in the presence of the people, saying, Naboth cursed Elohim and the king. So they took him outside the city and stoned him to death with stones. And they sent Isabel, saying, Naboth has been stoned, and he is dead. It happened just like it was written. They brought up two false witnesses, and they killed him just like they killed Yahusha. But in actuality, just so he can have somebody else's inheritance and possession, he had to kill somebody in order to take it. But that was only given by a woman. And as soon as Isabel heard that Naboth had been stoned and was dead, Isabel said to Ahab, arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give you for money, for Naboth is not alive, but dead. And as soon as Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, Ahab arose to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite and take possession of it, right? Because he didn't ask no questions. Right? So this is, of course, you know the book Numbers chapter 5. And, it says, speak to the people of Yasharal. If any man goes astray, any wife goes astray and breaks a munah with him, because that's the whole point. Because she was a daughter of Uthabal. Because you know that breaks faith is a ma'al. It means to what? To treacherously transgress. Thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. Right? He treacherously transgressed against man, against Yahuwah, against devoted things, against her husband. Why? Because she ain't tell nobody. It means to cover up, to act covertly. treacherously. That's what she did. She forged a bunch of signatures and then she sent it out and got a bunch of people, got the man killed by she brought 2 false witnesses, and then got the man killed by the elders and the chief priests, and he got the man slain just so they can take the inheritance that did not belong to them. And they stole it from him. They stole his inheritance. Who does that sound like? Your code. You know, when you're dealing with a code, right, them heel catchers, what do? They undermine. They what? They trick you. They use trickery. That's what Isabel just did. But guess what it says? That covertly is to secretly, stealthily, or in hidden, concealed manner, actions that taken without attracting attention, often avoiding being declared, recognized, or discovered. And that's the whole point. He says, why she did all that? And as soon, going back to 1 Kings 21 and 15, and as soon as Isabel heard that Naboth had been stoned and was dead, Isabel said to Ahab, arise and take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite. Right, she spoke them good words to him. Take possession of it. Going to verse 17. Then the word of Yahuwah came to Aydah the Tishbite, saying, arise and go to meet Ahab the king of Yasharal, who is in Samaria. Right, so you see how wicked Samaria is. Samaria had been evil before Isabel got on the scene. Before Isabel even got to be his Isha, it was already evil already. Samaria was already evil. It just got more evil when she got on the scene. But it was already evil. She had enough demons to work with. It was already there, and they just made more demons. Arise, go and meet Ahab the king of Yasharal, who is in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, where he has gone to take possession. Right here, he wouldn't have took possession, Yahuwah would probably have said nothing. But being that he gonna walk to that man's land, because you know what happened to that. You know what happens when you establish a kingdom on blood. Because that's blood money he just did. He said, woe to you who build a kingdom off of blood. Right? Go meet him. He done took the man's land. And you shall say to him, thus says Yahuwah, have you killed and also taken possession? Ahab ain't do nothing. I told you. He said Ahab didn't do nothing. I ain't do nothing, man. Hold up. I ain't do nothing. But in actuality, the two shall become one. It wasn't you who did it. It was the person connected to you who did it. And the reproaches of those who reproach you, reproach Yahuwah, it's going to fall on you. Because you did it. Yahuwah looked at you the same way. Because as soon as you touched it, it would have just been Miss Isabel. But being that you touched it, it's your fault. Right? This is Bereshit chapter 3, verse 1. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more, Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Now the Nakash was more crafty than any other beast of the field that Yahuwah your Elohim had made. He said to the woman, did Elohim actually say, you shall not eat of the tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, Nakash, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden. But Elohim said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the trees that are in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. And what happened to all the men who ate at Isabel's table? Because she was bitten by the Nakash. Was she not? She was bitten by the Nakash, and they were eating at her table. And what happened to all them with all Yahoo? He put them to death at the river. That's what happens when you get immersed with Yahushua Mashiach. All that immersing him, I put him on. But the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die. He said, ain't nothing going to happen to you. For Elohim knows when you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. When about y'all good and Ahab evil? Was he not? So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, then all the elders of Yasharal eat from the tree, or that letter that she sent out with the king's ring, and used that to get that man to death. Didn't they all eat from it and participate and touched it too, and they partook of it too? And they all, what happened? So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a light to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate, and also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. So when he touched that land, after he put that man there above to death, understand, Yahuwah say, you have done it. You have taken his land, and you killed Nerva, because you touched it, because you did it. That's why he said when you take that cup of bitterness, you gotta let him. He said, "Hold up, now. I have a feeling, so I don't want to participate in your sin. So you need to come up and take this cup of jealousy, this bitter cup, so I'll know not to touch you, what you doing." Then their eyes were open, and they knew that they were naked. He said, "Man, now you know your sins." And he sewed fig leaves and made themselves loincloths. Right? Verse 3 says, I'm going to show you this. Bereshit 3 and 8. And they heard the sound of Yahuwah walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Here come all Yahoo. Tell your master, all Yahoo here. Right? You see this, right? Tell your master, all Yahoo here. And they hid themselves in the presence of Yahuwah among the trees of the garden. Tell your master, all Yahoo here. But Yahuwah called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" Where Ahab at? Go meet Ahab. You know how Yahuwah told all Yahoo, go meet Ahab, please. He done took the Karim of Nerva and he killed him too. But Yahuwah called to the man, because that's what he gonna call. He knows he ain't called a woman. Go meet Isabel. See, it ain't about Isabel. It ain't about your father. Because, you know, his father worshiped, and he did evil in the sight of you. It ain't about your father, and it ain't about Isabel. It's about you. Because for some reason, you don't meditate on the bar human night. And you don't want to let this book of the Torah depart your mouth. And you don't want to, in the name of Yahuwah, cut them off. For some reason, you don't want to cut these people. You just like to just meditate on your possessions. You like serving money more than Yahuwah. You like to meditate on these things. So it says, but Yahuwah your Elohim called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" And he said, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked and I hid myself." And he said to him, "Who told you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree which I command you not to eat?" The man said, "The woman that you gave me, she gave me of the fruit of the tree, and I ate. She gave me the land of Nebuch, and I went and took possession of it." She did it. No. You did it, Adam. First man, Adam, was of the flesh. The second Adam is a life-giving Ruach. In the name of Yahuwah, I cut them off. That's what you got. That's why he said that Yaakov, Yasharal speak. That's why when all Yahoo took the stones, and he made an offering, he took 12 stones with 12 tribes, Yasharal, and he said, Yasharal speak. But which one are you? And then Yahuwah said, Elohim said to the woman, "What is this that you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me and I ate." You can't say that. And Yahuwah said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, Nakash, cursed are you above all livestock." Right? Notice he said all livestock. "And above all beasts of the field, and on your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life." Going back to 1 Kings chapter 21. 1 Kings chapter 21. 1 Kings chapter 21 and verse 8. 1 Kings chapter 21 verse 8. So she wrote letters to Ahab. Actually going to verse 17. 1 Kings 21:17. Then the word of Yahuwah came to meet Yahoo Tishbite, saying, "Arise, go down to meet Ahab, the king of Yasharal. So who is in Samaria? Behold, he is in the vineyard of Nebuch, where he has gone to take possession. And you shall say to him, Thus says Yahuwah Elohim, you have killed and also taken possession. And you shall say to him, Thus says Yahuwah, in the place where the dogs lick up the blood of Nebuch, shall dogs lick up your own blood. And he said, why his name? What is Adam's name? Strength in the blood. Strength in the blood. Adam. Because his name also means strength of the door in the water. And it says, and Ahab said to Yahoo, have you found me, O my enemy? You notice how he still got a grudge with Yahoo. He doing all this evil, and he still got a grudge with Yahoo. Notice how you can still have all this evil, right? See how these idols and stuff mess your mind up? You got all these evils and all these idols, and then you still calling that person your enemy when you actually an enemy of Yahuwah himself. Because you're thinking that you're an innocent person. You're so righteous and true and pure, full of the Ruach Qahalath and the Spirit, like how they say the Holy Ghost, right, or the Spirit, or whatever they want to call it. Not even knowing that you got another spirit, and Yahuwah is trying to get your spirit out of you, because you thinking that's my enemy. And he said, "Oh Yahweh, have you found me, O my enemy?" And he answered, "I have found you." He said, "Yeah, I found you. I already know, because you sold yourself to do what was evil in the sight of Yahuwah. You sold your soul to Satan. You know how it is. You sold your soul to Shaitan. Behold, I will bring disaster upon you." So that's why all these things happen. There's a reason why all these things happen. Nothing just happens. Nobody just goes through situations and things in your life. It's because of your sin, as Jeremiah chapter 30 says. Because your sins will flip. Your sins, right? That's the only reason. "And I will cut off from Ahab every male, bond or free, in Yasharal." That's what happens. "And I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah, for the anger to which you have provoked me. And because you have made Yasharal to sin." I thought it was Isabel. I thought it was, hold up, it was the woman who did that. She wrote the letter. She the one killed him. She the one put him in the deathbed and killed him and falsely accused him. Hold up. I thought it was her. No. It was you. Because you don't want to say nothing. See, this is the danger of being silent when evil is present. Just like a woman with children. It's a danger not to say nothing. It's very dangerous. Because then you end up partaking in their evil deeds. And they tell you one thing, and there'll be a whole nother story behind it. The very same thing when it comes to a man each over a household. Same thing when it comes to anything you do in life. You want to make sure you're not participating in financing or putting your hand on your yard or your signature on things that Yahuwah hates. Matter of fact, you don't want to be partaker of it. And Isabel, it says, "And of Isabel, Yahuwah said, the dog shall eat Isabel within the walls of Israel." Now you see why they were running from Yahuwah's judgment. Because when he came, "Have you found me my enemy?" Did Adam say that? Did Kawul say that? The serpent didn't even say nothing. "Have you found me, O my enemy?" Right? But you see the same judgment cycle. He comes in, man first, woman second. I'll get Satan later. I'll cast him in a lake of fire for 1,000 years. Right? In fact, I'll lock him away. Don't worry about that. But that's how it works. I'll get Satan later. Don't worry about it. I got Shatana. I got a whole big place for him, a whole dimension, doorway, 1,000-year lockdown, right? That's how it works. "Anyone belonging to Ahab who dies in the city, the dogs shall eat. And anyone of his who dies in the open country, the birds of the Shamayim shall eat." See, now you see how Yahuwah, now he started using the things that he put Adam over. Now he uses those things to kill you and to eat the residue of your body. Before Adam used to be over it, Rab'ay, right? Over all creatures of the earth. And now guess what? "Cursed are you above all livestock." and all the beasts of the earth. And you lower than a beast now. So you know what happens when you lower than a beast? You're like a mice. You know how you have a rat. What do cats eat? Snakes. Do they not eat snakes? What do eagles eat? Rats. Owls eat rats, right? You're like a little rat. You're like a little snake. That's what it is. He's saying you're like one of those little dogs. You're like little dogs that eat anything, right? You put it on a plate, and you put it in there, they'll eat anything, right? He said that the birds of the air, they eat dead flesh. He said that's what's going to happen to you. There was none who sold himself to do what was evil in the sight of Yahuwah like Aydah. This is verse 25. Whom Isabel, his wife, incited. See, this is the whole point. You can't let your Isha, or it doesn't matter who it is. You can't let nobody incite you to do stuff like this. Or participate. Because, you know, everybody try to get a reaction from you, right? In life. You say, man, why are people doing all this stuff? Because they trying to get a reaction from you. So they can accuse you. See, it's you the problem, right? It's you. No. It actually is. That's just how Yahuwah works. Because the only reason he having all these people do these things to you and say these things about you is so that you can see that you're the problem. Because why would he do it? Let me guess, you're like Yahushua Mashiach, full of the Ruach Qahalath and loving and kind. No. It's because you have something on the inside that Yahuwah don't like. And that's why it happens. He said, man, all these people saying all this stuff about me, oh my gosh. But in actuality, what do you have on the inside that Yahuwah don't like? That's the whole point. Or you're going to be like, you're my enemy. In actuality, you're Yahuwah's enemy. I'm just trying to show you you're my enemy. And guess what? His wife incited, because your wife, Isha, she was evil down. She was an idol worshiper, and you worshiped him. He built altars and made those things for her, and he ain't rebuke her with his mouth to God. He wasn't saying nothing about it, so therefore, you partaker. Who do you think incited Adam to eat the plant? His Isha. That's why I say the more Ishas you got, the more dangerous you in now. The more you have, you in the danger zone, boy. You don't know what's going on around you. But you gotta watch like every 5 minutes. What's going on? You're gonna be stressed to blink out. Stressed all over the place. He acted very abominably in going after idols, right? That's what happened. As the Amorites had done, whom Yahuwah cast out before the people of Yasharal. And when Ahab heard those words, see, this is the whole point. After you hear this, what do? After Ahab heard those words, the judgment that was going to happen to him, he tore his clothes and put on sackcloth on his flesh. You're going to eat dust all the days of your life. You know what Nakash means? He said it in Nakash. They're going to Nakash on the inside of you. There goes Satan on the inside of you. That's Shaitan on the inside of you. Why do you think you're eating dust in sackcloth and ashes? Because that's Shaitan on the inside of you. And he fasted and lay in sackcloth and went down dejectedly. And the word of Yahuwah came to all Yahoo the Tishbite, saying, have you seen how Ahab has humbled himself before me? See, I'm telling you, man. You're going to find that Nakash. Once that Nakash come out of you, you're going to be like, I'm going to eat dust all the days of my life. Because that you the Nakash. You will not surely die, Isabel. Even though you go and write false letters and you kill Nailbuff and you did false accusations, and you're not going to surely die. Ahab, for doing all the sins of your fathers and doing the very same thing he did, you're not going to surely die for building an altar. That's Nakash on the inside of you, telling you those things. You're not going to surely die for building altars to Baals and Ashtoreth and stacking up prophets and Nabi'im in the name of Baal. You're not going to surely die. That's what Nakash, Satan, does on the inside of your heart and your mind. He talks to you. He's like, hey, you ain't going to surely die. And the word of Yahuwah came to all y'all to Tishbite. saying, have you seen how Ahab has humbled himself before me? Because he has humbled himself before me, I will not bring disaster in his days. He's not going to do what? But his son's days, I will bring disaster upon his house. You see how this stuff be transferring? First, the sins of his wife transferred over to him, and he had to bear the sin of that. Because the only way he's going to do that, how does a man, we talked about this, how does a man bear the sin of his household when they do something evil? He has to fast. He got to go and sack off and ask. That's the only way you're going to bear it. If you don't want to bear it, just don't fast. Be like, man, I'm going to let y'all die. Right? But then he has to fast, and then what happens? Then it's fast after he fasts, and then transfers over to his sons at the end. You be like, man, hold up. Don't you fast. Oh, hold up. Y'all done did all the evil. Better hope your father don't fast. If your father fasts, oh boy, it's coming on you. Because I'm Yahuwah, I change not. You understand that? Somebody getting punished, you be like, somebody did a bunch of evil in the family. You be like, man, my father done fast. It's coming on you. Then you got to fast to pass it to the next person. You pass it on. Pass it on. Man, this thing keep going. Like, people think this is a joke. This man, it's the same thing. Like, it's going to keep passing down. He's like, I don't want it in my day. Now you see why Shaul say pray without ceasing. People say, why he say I'll do all this stuff without ceasing? Why you think you have a fast in the 4th month and the 5th month? You be like, I'm trying to transfer my sins out of my life, because all these are a part of this understanding. Because if you don't, it becomes like a perpetual punishment. But anyway, but it says, but his son's days I will bring disaster upon his house. Now you see why all this disaster happening now. You're like, man, why all these disasters all happening at one time? Because people have been passing it down, now don't reach here. It don't reach this generation, and guess what people not doing? Nobody fasting, nobody praying, nobody seeking Yahuwah now. See, that's what's going to happen. It's going to get closer and closer and closer to where sin's been passed down from generation to generation. Now you're to a generation, nobody know how to fast no more, nobody know how to pray. Nobody doing these things seeking Yahuwah, and now you got this climax of people who ain't going to do it, and now he's like, man, these birth pains this thing getting real tight. It's like, man, it's like things happen every week, because nobody fasting and praying, nobody passing it. Nobody's moving it down the line, so his mercy can happen. And that's the whole point, right? So Numbers, because Numbers chapter 5, 21, it says, then the priest shall make the woman take the oath of the curse and say to the woman, Yahuwah make you a curse and an oath among your people when Yahuwah makes your thigh fall away and your body swell. May this water that brings the curse pass into your bowels and make your womb swell and your thigh fall away, or in the fall, and the woman shall say, Amen, Amen. May this water that brings the curse pass into your bowels and make your womb swell and your thigh fall away. What did Ahab do? When he had the prophets not be a ball, and all y'all who offered on the altar, what came out? Water around the trench. He said water came in the trench. And then he said, Yahuwah Elohim, answer us. And then he answered. Then all the Nabi'im of the false Nabi'im said, Yahuwah is Elohim, Yahuwah is Elohim. And then a man's hand came out as he went to go look 7 times. And then what happened? Man, it's going to rain, man. It's finna rain. Because that word for swell is sabah. It means to swell up, to bloat it, to make turgid, typically by fluids and typically as a swollen tissue or plants, right, by water. This is all a part of it, right? So that word for bowels is me'ah, because that bowels is inward parts. He said, make your bowels and your wounds swell. That's your inward parts, your intestines, your abdomen, your stomach, your uterus, right? Your heart, your belly, your bowel, your heart, your womb, your emotions of distress, of love, your belly, organs of procreation. All this are a part of it. Because you think about this, right? This is the testament of Benjamin. The testament of Benjamin The Testament of Benjamin, chapter 2 and verse 1. This is the Testament of Benjamin, chapter 2 and verse 1. Testament of Benjamin, chapter 2 and verse 1. And do ye, my children, flee evil doings, envy and hatred of brethren and sisters, and cleave to goodness and love. Why? What happens when you start envying? You're going to steal somebody's land. You're going to end up killing somebody. You're going to have hatred in your heart. What are you going to do? You don't cleave to goodness. You ain't going to fear Yahuwah. You're going to be like Aydah. You're going to be like Ahab. He that have a pure mind in love looketh not after a woman with a view to fornication. Right? So when you look at a woman with a view to fornication, you know what happens? For he have no defilement in his heart, because the Ruach of Elohim rested upon him. See, this is the whole point. This is why he says, be not deceived. Evil communication corrupt good manners. Because it corrupts your good behavior. That's why when you're around people who do these things, you're just going to corrupt your... If you're a person who doesn't, it's going to corrupt your good behavior. And you're going to have them seeds in your head. I promise you. It's going to be there. You'll be like, it ain't there. Yes, it is. Verse 3 says, for as the sun is not defiled by shining on dung and mire, but rather drieth up both and drieth away the evil smell. Who is that? Beelzebub. That's Beelzebub. What do you think Beelzebub don't like? He don't like the sun. That's why he said in Psalms 19, he said like a bridegroom leaving his chamber. He don't like the sun. That's why he don't like the light. That's why Ahab, when he ain't speak, he ain't say nothing. And guess what? Beelzebub and all them demons are running absolutely insane. And guess what? So also the pure mind, though encompassed by the defilements of earth, rather cleanses them and is not itself defiled. See, this is why you got to speak the bar. That's why it says, meditate on the bar. This book of the Torah should not depart of your mind. Because it's like the bridegroom leaving his chamber. It's going to burn it. I ain't each lapid. Once the fire come out, it's not my debar like fire. What does it do? It kills things. It makes people hate you. You're going to make people scoff at you. That's what's going to happen. And you won't be defiled, because that's what's going to happen. He said, why? He said, why is it important? Because you're going to be defiled. This is Ezekiel chapter 33, because you're going to be defiled if you don't do it. That's why he gave us speaking ruach. That's why he gave us speaking ruach. This is Ezekiel chapter 33 and verse 10. And you, son of Adam, say to the house of Yasharal, thus, this is Ezekiel 33 and 10. Thus have you said, surely our transgressions and our sins are upon us, and we rot away because of them. How then can we live? We all dying. We are. Say to them, as I live, declares Yahuwah Elohim, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked. See, he don't. He really don't. You think he had pleasure in doing that to Ahab and saying that about Ahab and Isabel? No. But the wicked, they turn from his way and live. You don't see how Ahab humbled himself? Turn back from your evil ways. Shub. So why will you die, O house of Yasharal? That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And you, son of Adam, say to your people, the righteousness of your righteous, of the righteous shall not deliver him when he transgresses. See, people be thinking other people's righteousness is going to deliver them, right? No. When you transgress, you treacherously transgress my all, I assure you, you alone going to bear that. And as for the wickedness of the wicked, he shall not fall by it when he turns from his wickedness, and the righteous shall not be able to live by his righteousness when he sins. Though I say to the righteous that he shall surely live, yet if he trusts in his righteousness and does injustice, none of his righteous deeds shall be remembered. But in his injustice that he has done, he shall die. Again, though I say to the wicked, you shall surely die. Yet if he turns from his sins and does what is just and right, if the wicked restores the pledge, gives back what he has taken by robbery, and walks in my statutes of life, not doing injustice, he shall surely live. He shall not die. None of his sins that he has committed shall be remembered against him. He has done what is just and right. He shall surely live. That's the whole point of this whole thing. Yet your people say the way of Yahuwah is not just, when it is their own way that is not just. When the righteous turns from his righteousness and does injustice, he shall die for it. And when the wicked turns from his wickedness and does what is just and right, he shall live by this. Yet you say the way of Yahuwah is not just, O house of Yasharal. I will judge each of you according to his ways. Right, so going back to Testament of Benjamin, chapter 2, and verse 4. Testament of Benjamin, chapter 2, verse 4. And I believe that there will be also evil doings among you, from the words of Enoch, the righteous, that ye shall commit fornication with the fornication of Sodom, and shall perish as all save a few, and shall renew the wanton deeds with women. The kingdom of Yahuwah shall not be among you. See, this is the whole point. You're going to do what? You're going to renew the wanting deeds with women, and the kingdom of Yahuwah will not be among you, for straightway he shall take it away. You see how fast he can do that? When you start worshiping other idols, other gods, and doing things and forming relationships with things that Yahuwah don't want you to do, he take it away from you. Nevertheless, the temple of Elohim shall be in your portion, and the last temple shall be more glorious than the first. He said the last going to be more kabod than the first one. You thought the last house was great. Wait till the next to this last one it's going to be way greater than the first. And the 12 tribes shall be gathered together there. See, this is the whole point. Why you think all y'all who got them 12 stones and put them down? It's going to be greater than that. And all the goyim unto the Most High shall send forth his salvation in the visitation of an only begotten Nabi. And what is this prophet going to do? I thought it was all Yahoo though. But it was just showing you who he was. And he shall enter into the first temple, and there shall Yahuwah be treated with outrage. Oh my gosh. And he shall be lifted up upon a tree. The son of Adam be lifted up. I'm going to draw all people to myself. Why do you think he was lifted up? Why do you think all Yahoo was saying, answer me, Yahuwah, answer me. Ma'alahim, why hast thou forsaken me? And guess what? And the veil, you know why? Because he saw a man's hand. He told the servant to go look. It was a man's yard. He said, man, they forsook you for ball. Because they only, you see that yard coming out of there? It's getting ready to rain. And guess what? And the veil of the temple shall be rent, and the Ruach of Elohim shall pass on to the Goim as fire poured forth. He said, now the Ruach done passed over to it, because the temple was written too. I told you Yahuwah don't dwell in temples made with hands. Why didn't he split it in two when Yahuwah cried out and the temple written too? He said, that little temple you thought, they thought that was a temple. See, now the fire don't went to the Goim. And he shall ascend from Hades and shall pass from the earth into Shamayim. And he shall rise from the grave, from the Sheol, from Hades. Right? And guess what? And I know how lowly he shall be upon the earth. Now you see why he said, you see how Ahab humbled himself? When Ahab heard the words of Yahuwah, he humbled himself. You say, you saw how Ahab humbled himself? And how glorious in Shamayim. You see how Ahab humbled himself, though? Man, you've seen that? When they heard this, he was cut to their heart. Ahab hit the ground. And now when Yusuf was in Mizraim, I longed to see his figure and the form of his countenance. And through the prayers of Yaakov, my father, I saw him while awake in the daytime, even his entire figure exactly as he was. He said, man, I had a vision, a husband. And when he had said these things, he said unto them, know ye therefore, my children, that I am dying. Do ye therefore truth each one to his neighbor. Why? Yaakov, Yasharal speak. Why? Because you don't speak. You got to speak truth to your neighbor. You know what Shaul said? Shaul said you got to speak, let everyone speak truth to his neighbor. Right? And guess what? And keep the law of Yahuwah, the Torah of Yahuwah, and his commandments. So you think Shaul, when he said everyone speak truth to his neighbor, what truth he talking about? The Torah and the commandments, right? So he's literally telling you, when he says speak truth and keep the Torah of Yahuwah and his commandments, that's the truth you need to be speaking to your neighbor. That Shaul said. Let every man speak truth to his neighbor. Only for the building up, right? But in actuality, what have people been speaking? Baal, right? And for these things do I leave instead of inheritance. Oh, didn't Naboth lose his inheritance? Oh, I thought he did. He said, I'm not giving you my father's inheritance. What was the father's inheritance? The bar, the word of Yahuwah. That is the inheritance. Why do you think Hanuk told you when he told him, he said, when he talked about the sun traveling on 11 celestial circles, and he talked about the calendar, he said, leave the book to your children and to your children's children, and to another generation, and to the Goim who can understand it. And if anybody who is burdened by them and don't want to learn them, he said, terrible judgment is awaiting you. Because you don't want to do it. But he says, do ye therefore give to them and to your children and for an everlasting possession, for so did both Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. So what's the inheritance? The word of Yahuwah. What happened? For these things I leave you instead of inheritance. So what do you mean by that? This is Deuteronomy chapter 18. Devarim chapter 18 and verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 1. The Lui, Kahanim, all the tribes of Lui, shall have no portion or inheritance with Yasharal. What was the inheritance that they were supposed to get? The Debar, the word of Yahuwah. They shall eat Yahuwah's food offerings as their inheritance. They shall have no inheritance among their brothers. I thought Naboth didn't have an inheritance. He's like, man, my inheritance. He said, I'm gonna give you the inheritance of my father. What was he giving? What did Ahab and them take? His land. But the one thing they couldn't take was the bar. What did Yahusha say? What did he say? People say, man, people have no idea how condemned people are. Right, this is the book of Matthew. People have no idea what's going on. This is Matthew chapter 5 and verse 38. Matthew chapter 5 verse 38. Matthew chapter 5 verse 38. You have heard it was said, an eye for eye, a tooth for tooth. Right, you know how it is. But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. He say, man, look at here. I know Naboth, I know you was in there. I know they wrote bunch of letters and they brung a bunch of people and they said you did this and you did that and they falsely accused you. And they stole the inheritance of your fathers, but not even knowing. They thought they actually stole your inheritance. Do not resist the one who is evil. But if anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other also. He's like, man, just go ahead and let him do it again. Why would you do that? And if anyone will sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. Let him take everything you got. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who borrows from you. He said, why he did all that? Right, this is 1 King, going back to Malachi, Deuteronomy chapter 18. Devarim chapter 18 and verse 1. Devarim chapter 18 verse 1. 18 verse 2. They shall have 18 and 2. They shall have no inheritance among their brothers. Yahuwah is their inheritance, as he promised them. The debar, the word. And this shall be the priest's due from the people, from those offering a sacrifice. Whether ox or sheep, they shall give to the Kohanim the shoulders, the 2 cheeks, and the stomach, and the first fruit of your grain, and your wine, and your oil, and the first fleece of the sheep, and you shall give them. For Yahuwah, your Elohim, has chosen him out of all your tribes to stand to minister in the name of Yahuwah, him and his sons for all time. Right? So going back to Testament of Rab'ay, chapter 11, and verse 14. For these things do I leave you instead of inheritance. Do ye also therefore give to them your children for an everlasting possession, for so did both Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For all these things they gave us for an inheritance, saying, keep the commandments of Elohim until Yahuwah shall reveal his salvation to all the Goyim. Until he what? Until he revealed his salvation, Yahuwah's salvation, Yahushua Mashiach, Yeshua, his salvation to all the Goyim. And then, And then what happens after you do all that? And then you shall see Hanu. Is not Enoch coming back here? Nuach, Shem, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, rising on the right hand in gladness, his yard. And what did all y'all who see coming out of what did his servant see coming out of the sea? He saw a man's hand, a yard, coming out of the sea. Because that was Yahuwah's salvation. What happened when his salvation came out, his hand? It started to rain. It started to rain. Then shall we also rise, each one over our tribe. What do you mean? It's 12 tribes. It's 12 tribes. Worshipping the king of Shamayim. Who's the king of Shamayim? Yahuwah. Who is the king of Shamayim? Yahuwah. Yahuwah is the king of the Shamayim. And guess what? Who appeared upon the earth in the form of man in humility. You see how Ahab humbled himself? Man, you see how Ahab humbled himself. You see that? That's what I want. Because when Ahab had that wicked woman and his wicked life, his wicked father, and his wicked life, he humbled himself down and he realized, all this sin that I got need to pass to Yahuwah's son. Because he said it's going to be on your son. He said it got to pass. That's the only way it's going to pass to Yahushua Mashiach, his son. That's the only way you can take on the sacrifice. How you going to take it? How you going to benefit? How you going to access the sacrifice after you hear about Yahushua Mashiach? You have to fast. You have to pray in order to transfer everything to his son. Or you going to bear all that on your life. That's the only way you can do it. It's like a signature. That fast you do, and that initial fast you do from when you hear about him and you realize you're a wicked person, that's how it becomes a signature of approval. And then what did all y'all who do after the night? My Elohim, Yahuwah is Elohim, the king of the Shamayim. He killed them all in the river. That's what emerging is. I killed you in the river. So I have to kill you in the river. You got to jump in the water, and I kill you. That's the only way you're going to get salvation. How else are you gonna get it? I don't want to fast. I don't want to pray. I don't want to do that. I want to humble myself. The Anu, Ana, Sanu, Anua, Sana, Ani, right? I don't want to hit the ground. I don't want to kana, right? All these are a part of what? And as many as believe on him on the earth shall rejoice with him. See? And guess what? Then also all men shall rise, some unto kabod and some unto shame. See? What type of fast did Aydah do before? He was pouting and sulking over the fact he can have the land. He was laying in the bed and he was fasting and he would eat no bread or no food for the wrong thing. And then he arose in shame and went to go take his land and touch the possession after he died. After the wicked woman went and did it. And then Yahuwah sent to the bar, and then he had to hit the ground again. And Yahuwah shall judge Yasharal first. See? This is why you don't want to be a part. You say, I'm the 12 tribes of Yasharal. Okay. You know Yahuwah's righteous decree, right? So you're the 12 tribes. I'm Yasharal. And Yahuwah shall judge Yasharal first for their unrighteousness. So understand what's coming. For when he appeared as Elohim in the flesh to deliver them, they believed him not. Do you still believe? You still don't believe on him today. They believed him not. He in the flesh. Yahushua done came in the flesh. Yahushua done came in the flesh, taught, rose, and ascended. 49 days from the first day of the 17th day of the first month, all the way to the 5th day of the third month. 49 days total. Was here 40 days teaching and instructing. Then when it ascended up on high, and guess what? There ain't nobody still ain't believe. And then he shall judge all the goyim. See, that's the whole point. This is the book of 1 Corinthians. You say, what? People have no idea. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 21. 1 Corinthians chapter 1. Verse 21. For since in the wisdom of Elohim, the world did not know Elohim through wisdom. Isn't that what he said? He said they didn't know wisdom. We read it in the Oath of Solomon. He said they lack wisdom. They all perish. It pleased Elohim through the folly of what we Qahalath preach to save those who believe. For the Yahudim demand signs and the Greeks seek after wisdom. But we teach Mashiach crucified, a stumbling block to the Yahudim and folly to the Goyim. But to those who are called both Yahudim and Greek, Mashiach, the power of Elohim and the wisdom of Elohim. For the foolishness of Elohim is wiser than men, and the weakness of Elohim is stronger. Yahuwah is stronger than men. Why? Because all this is a part of it. But what's he got to do with anything? Because everything he did was a part of his own understanding. Well, his own mindset, but understanding what it is, right? Right? I think it's the same book. Yeah. Romans chapter 2 and verse 6. Romans chapter 2 and verse 6. Romans chapter 2 verse 5. Romans chapter 2 verse 5. But because of your hard, impudent heart, you are storing your wrath for yourself on the day of the wrath of Elohim's righteous judgment will be revealed. He will render to each one according to his works. To those who by patience and well-doing seek for kabod and honor and immortality, he will give eternal life. But to those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, there will be wrath and fury. There will be tribulation and distress from every human being who does evil, to the Yahudi first, or the Jew first, or Yasharal first, and also to the Greek. Right. That's all a part of it. Going back to Testament of Benjamin, chapter 2 and verse 20. Then all the men shall rise, some unto Gabol and some unto shame. And Yahuwah will judge Yasharal first for their unrighteousness, for when he appeared as Elohim in the flesh to deliver them, they believed him not. And then shall he judge all the Goyim, as many as believed him not, when he appeared upon the earth. And he shall convict Yasharal through the chosen ones of the Goyim, even as he reproved Esau through the Midianites, who deceived their brethren, so that they fell into fornication, idolatry, and they were alienated from Elohim, becoming therefore children of the portion of them that fear Yahuwah. If ye therefore, my children, walk in Chdsh, according to the commandments of Yahuwah, ye shall dwell securely with me, and all Yasharal shall be gathered unto Yahuwah. And I shall no longer be called a ravening wolf on the account of your ravages, but a worker of Yahuwah, distributing food to them that work what is good. Right, going to verse 26. And there shall arise in the latter days one beloved of Yahuwah, of the tribe of Yehudah and Lu, a doer of his good pleasure in his mouth, with new knowledge enlightening the Goyim, until the consummation of the age shall be in his Aydah, his assembly, of all the Goyim, and among their rulers, as a strain of music in the mouth of all. And guess what he says? And he shall be inscribed in the Qahalath books. What? And he shall be inscribed in the Qahalath books, both his work and his word. And he shall be a chosen one of Elohim forever. And through them he shall judge, he shall go to and fro as Jacob my father, saying, he shall fill up that which lacketh of the tribe. He said he's going to fill up what lacks of the tribe. And what is he going to do after that? And when he had said these things, he stretched out his feet, and he died in a beautiful and good sleep. He died. But all this is a part of it. So what's this got to do with anything? Right, so this is the book of, what is it? This is the book of, right. This is the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 1. Malachi, chapter 3, verse 6. Malachi, chapter 3, verse 6. For I, Yahuwah, do not change. Therefore, O children of Jacob, are not consumed. That's why the 12 tribes are important. For the whole Malkut, male and female, is a Karnakabah. If you don't believe that, how are you going to get salvation? And it says, for the days of your fathers you have turned aside from my statutes and have not kept them. Return to me, and I will return to you. He said, you got to return to me. How you do that? By humbling yourself, like Ahab. Says Yahuwah of hosts, but you say, how shall we return? Will man rob Elohim? Yet you are robbing me. But you say, how have we robbed you? In your tithes and contributions. You are cursed with a curse. He say, now your bowels going. He say, you cursed with a curse. He say, now you done drunk the cup. You done drunk the bitter cup, and now your stomach done swell. Your teba, right? Your meah. Your belly done swell. Your bowels. Then came up. Everything, your intestines. He said, what? You are cursed with a curse. You are robbing me, this whole nation, of you. He said, you're robbing me. But guess what? Bring the full tithes in the storehouse. What do you mean? That there may be food in my house. Right? There ain't no food in there. You just read that in the Testament of Benjamin. He said, I'm going to give food to those who are hungry. How are you going to do that? There ain't no food in there. I assure you, if all the money run out, if ain't no food and all the money, you got plenty of money, I assure you, the only thing you want is food. Why do you think Yusuf was over there, all Mizraim, and he had all the food? And then they were bringing the money in to get that food. And amazingly, that's what you do today. how much food costs. Because they already knew this time was coming where ain't gonna be no more like that much food, and they knew they gonna jack the prices up. And they knew you gonna pay for it because you need food. How much you pay? How much you pay for products again? You gonna pay. You be like, I ain't gonna pay. Yeah, you are. There's another restaurant being built right next to your house. Matter of fact, about 5 of them. You gonna pay because you want to survive. I don't care if it's made in the lab. I know because you want to survive. Bring full tithes into the storehouse that you may have food in my house, and thereby put me to the test, says Yahuwah of hosts. See? And if I will not open the windows of Shamayim for you and pour you down a barak, you have that there is no more need. Now you see why when Ahab humbled himself, and you saw when all Yahoo showed the Nabi'im, the false Nabi'im, he said, you see what Yahuwah did? And then Yahuwah sent a man's hand, and it was a rainstorm coming. He said, hurry up and go show yourself to Ahab before the rain may stop you, because it's going to be a whole bunch of water. He poured them out of a barak. They had not room enough to receive. And guess what? I will rebuke the devourer for you. What's the devourer? The insectoids, the squirrels, the rabbits. What's the other stuff? The people, things that devour your food. The groundhog, right? You have one of them that's going to eat your whole garden. Right? So that it will not destroy the fruits of your soil. See? if it's close to the ground, I assure you, something going to eat it. And your vine in your field shall not fail to bear, says Yahuwah of hosts. This is why you don't be fruitful and multiply. That's why he said Yahuwah baraked them in the book of Bereshit chapter 1 verse 26. And he said be fruitful and multiply. But how you do that? By being obedient to Yahuwah's voice. But if you don't do that, then you ain't going to prosper. Nothing's going to produce anything for you. Nothing's going to produce. That's what happens. He's going to rebuke the devourer so that it will not destroy the fruits of your soil, and the vine of your field shall not fail to bear, says Yahuwah of hosts. Then all nations will call you Barak. Ain't no nation going to call you Barak when you ain't got nothing abundance. You're not in abundance, so therefore you're not Barak, because Yahuwah ain't poured upon you no rain, and your crops and your food, and you're not producing any food. So therefore, you're not Barak. How are the Goyim going to hear salvation? How? From the people who's supposed to bring it, the message of salvation. But if you're not Barak, and if you're not Barak, what happens? For you will be a land of delight, says Yahuwah of hosts. You're not a land of delight. Nobody cares. Nobody wants nothing to do with you because you're not a land of delight. So you're not prospering. You're not Barak. And it's not increased to where they can call and say you Barak. And all nations of you. Remember he says all nations. He told Abraham, all nations in you. And Abraham said your seed be called. Then we read that in the book of Jubilees. Because he knew in your code, his seed shall be called. In the Jubilees chapter 19, Supergrapha. But they also said, Abraham, in your seed shall all nations of the earth be Barak. But how is that going to happen if Yahuwah don't Barak you? How did Abraham get Barak? When he left his father's house, he was worshiping idols. And he never saw them again. That's how his Barak was in him cutting them off and never seeing them again. How did Sarah get Barak? By listening to Abraham being in subjection. And then he told her to call you my sister. And then she ended up in the palace. And then he ended up about to touch her, and then he didn't, and then he prayed to Yahuwah. Well, Yahuwah appeared in him in a dream, and she got Barak. He gave her money, and then he gave Abraham grew in wealth that time too. Their Barak was by leaving and never looking back. Their Barak was forsaking those things in the past. That's what their Barak, their prosperity was in that. Your prosperity is tied to that. Your tribulation and the things you go through. Your prosperity is tied to the fact that you got to go through all these things to get to that point. But if you don't let it go, if you don't cut it off, if you don't do these things, then guess what? You're just gonna always be attached to something that's gonna hold back your prosperity. It says, and your vine of the field shall not fail to bear, says Yahuwah of hosts. Then all the nations shall call you Barak, for you will be a land of delight, says Yahuwah of hosts. Your words have been hard against me, says Yahuwah of hosts. But you say, how have we spoken against you? You have said it is in vain to serve Elohim. I guess it don't. He said, I guess I don't do enough for you. He said it's worthless to serve Yahuwah Elohim. What profit is our keeping his charge and walking as in mourning before Yahuwah of hosts? Why are we going to go fast in sackcloth and ashes? What profit is that? You see how Aydah humbled himself? And now we call the arrogant Barak. And guess what? That's what you do today. That's what people do today. Now you call the arrogant, the proud, the arrogant man, you call him Barak now. And that's what people do today. You see all the stuff he got. He worship Baal. He got all them idols in his heart. And nobody can tell him nothing. And guess what? And you call him, you call it arrogant Barak. And look how Barak he is. Even though he arrogant. And that's what you do today. You're supposed to call it humble, the ones who ain't new, humble, Barak. But you call the arrogant one Barak. Evildoers not only prosper, but they put Elohim to the test and they escape. And then don't the arrogant person escape? It seems like nothing happened to them. But for you, man, everything happened to me. He's like, I know. I'm trying to show you the difference between the righteous and the wicked. That's all he's showing you. That's the whole point. Because that's the whole point. You be like, man, how come that happened to him and it don't happen to me? Because Yahuwah wants food in his house. Matter of fact, Yahuwah wants you, all nations in the earth to be Barak through you. And the only way that's going to happen, you got like literally humble yourself and bring all the food in the storehouse. They made food in your house. You made that the land may grow fruits and vegetables and all these things that people other goyim can eat. And then what's going to happen after that? They're going to say, who is this Elohim that you serve? Because you're supposed to be the masters of this thing. But this is all a part of it. This is all a part of it, right? So this is the book of, let's finish, man. So this is the book of it's the 2 Kings chapter 17. 2 Kings chapter 17. 2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 24. 2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 24. 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 24. The king of Assyria brought people from Babylon, Cuthath, Ava, Hamath, and Saraphim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the people of Yasharal. See? Who was in Samaria? And guess what? And they took possession of Samaria and lived in its city. See? That's what happened. Remember, they built all that stuff. Remember, he built all that stuff? His father, Omri, and Ahab. They built a whole bunch of stuff. They had a whole bunch of buildings too. They construction, but they had all that. Architects, foundation workers, everything. But they couldn't live in it no more. And at the beginning of their dwelling there, they did not fear Yahuwah. Remember, everybody ain't fear Yahuwah now. Abijah feared Yahuwah, but Ahab didn't. Isabel didn't fear Yahuwah. But then he sent Yahoo to come visit you. And they did not fear Yahuwah. Therefore, Yahuwah sent lions among them and killed some of them. See, this is why it ain't real. I mean, we talked about this before. Being that you ain't dependent on rain to grow your food, it's not really that real for you. Being that you ain't really bound no lions and no wild animals and no buffalo, right? And some, strange creatures and things that can take you out. It's not really real for you. It's not. But Barak he would not see him but still believe. He'd be like, it can happen to you. He sent lions among them, and they killed some of them. Some, not all. So the king of Assyria was told, the nations that you have carried away and placed in the city of Samaria did not know the law of the God of the land. Therefore he sent lions among them. So just because you donate a land to Yahuwah, and you purchase it, and you even name it after somebody else, the former person, but you say you follow Yahuwah, Yahuwah like, that's my land. And if you don't do what I say, I'm going to do something to you. Do not know the law of the Elohim of the land. Therefore he sent lions among them, and behold, they are killing them, because they do not know the law of the Elohim of the land. See, Yahuwah started using the creatures of the earth to take you out. And then you find yourself in some serious situations with some animals. You be like, man, why are the animals just coming at me for no reason at all? Because you don't really know the law of the land. You don't know the actual Elohim of the land. So therefore, the Elohim of the land send the animals after you to take you out of here. Then the king of Assyria commanded, send there one of the Kohanim whom you carried away from there, and let them go and dwell there and teach them the law of the Elohim of the land. So one of the priests, see, that's why back in the day, people actually believed in their God. So you're supposed to believe in your God to the point where if you don't do the law, the Torah of the land on this land, Yahuwah going to do something to you. So one of the Kohanim whom he had carried away from Samaria came and lived in Bethel and taught them how they should fear Yahuwah. This is the whole point. How you think they're going to learn it? He's like, man, I think you want to fear Yahuwah on this one. Why? Because he's sending lions. When Yahuwah starts sending animals after you, that means you're like a Nakash. What do you mean? You're lower than the animal. Because the animals see you as food now. They're supposed to fear you, but now they see you as food. And when the animals see you as food, or see you as a threat, this is the whole point. Verse 29 says, but every nation still made gods of its own and put them in the shrines of the high places of the Samaritans had made every nation and cities to dwell. So you see all that. They still did it. They still did it. Even though they had a teacher. They had a teacher teaching the Torah, had all these things. They still had their gods, though. And the Samaritans had made every nation and cities in which they lived. The men of Babylon made Sukkot Binoth, and men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashmiah, and Evites made Nisbah, and Tarsak, and Saraphites burned their children in the fire to Adramelech and Anam-Melech, the god of the seraphim. Amazing, all these gods. You say, oh wow, all Yahuwah's Torah, then you have all the other gods around you doing other things on the same land. It sounds like where you are right now. That sounds like where you are right now. They also feared Yahuwah and appointed from them for among themselves all sorts of people as priests of the high places, who sacrificed for them in the shrines in the high places. So they feared Yahuwah, but also, you know what Ahab did? But also served their own gods. You know what Ahab did? You're a two-faced. You're a two-faced person. After the manner of the nations, Goyim, and among whom they had been carried away. You say you two-faced. To this day, they do according to the formal manner. He say, you know what? I have my God. I have Yahuwah and I have my other ones. So I'm doing exactly. No, he said you're still the same former person. That immersion ain't do nothing for you. You know, he said you jumped in the water. I ain't kill you yet. I ain't taking your I didn't kill all the Baals and the Asherahs and all that when you got immersed. So now I got to immerse you with something else, with a fire. I have to immerse you with a fire now. And now I have to literally destroy it. And guess what? That's why people from other places, what do? They take on Yahuwah and they still hold on to their culture. My culture, my lovely place. And you be thinking like, okay, you still wear checkerboard candy canes in your hand. You still worship that what they do. You still got all the other stuff they got going on with it. You still calling on the other stuff. So therefore, to this day, they do according to their former manner. This is 2 Kings 34, 2 Kings 17:34. They do not fear Yahuwah, and they do not follow the statutes and the rules, or the law, or the commandments that Yahuwah Elohim gave the children of Yaakov, whom he named Yasharah. You still don't believe Testament to Benjamin. Because what was the inheritance that Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov gave his sons? The Debar, the word. Yahuwah made a covenant with them and commanded them, you shall not fear other gods, or bow yourselves to them, or serve them, or sacrifice to them. But you shall fear Yahuwah, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim with great power and with outstretched arm. Like going to Testament of Benjamin, chapter 1. Testament of Benjamin, chapter 1. Testament of Benjamin, chapter 1, verse 6. Testament of Benjamin, chapter 1, verse 6. Therefore, I was called Benjamin, that is the son of days. Some people say son of days, some people say son of right hand. Could be son of the right. And when I went into Mizraim to Yusuf, my brother recognized me, and he said to me, what did they tell my father when they had sold me? And I said unto him, they dabbled thy coat with blood and sent it, and said, know whether this be the son's coat. And he said unto me, even so, brother, when they had stripped me of my coat, they gave me to the Ishmaelites. You know what they did, Yahushua? They tore off his clothes too. And they gave him to the high Khan and priest, right? And they gave me, and they crucified him, a loincloth. You know what Yahushua did? He took off his loincloth on Pesach. And he washed their feet. And scourged me and bade me run. You know what they do? They did that. They show that in Meshican temples, right? They put these clothes on and make you run in the forest, and they send people to hunt you down. Do they not? That's what they priests did. They take you as a slave, then they bound you, then they make you put on loincloths, make you run in the field, and they chase you down with their warriors, and they slay you. And as for the one of them that had beaten me with a rod, what did he do? And then what they did to Yahushua? They nabba you, Mashiach, who hit me. A lion met him and slew him. Man, he sent lions among them. You don't know the law of the land. I kill your behind. Now you see why a jaguar comes to take you out, or a cougar. Now you see why a bison come and knock your head off, right? Because you don't know the law of the land. Now you see why a lion come out and kill you. He said, man, you don't know who you hitting, y'all. You don't know who you hit. That's why they don't know who they hit when they hit Yahushua Mashiach across the head with that reed. What do you think he's gonna happen when you come back here? You think Yahuwah gonna make them lions forget? Them cougars, them jaguars, right? Them animals, he gonna make all them animals come back alive on you. Cause they said, man, ain't no animals no more. We killed them all. I said he got them on the ground. He gonna fulfill his debar. He be like, yeah, he not gonna fulfill it. He get them animals somewhere. He got them hid. They gonna come up out of the ground somewhere. He got an underground. He got nice oxygen. They getting prepared, nice and big and plump for you. So when they come up, then you gonna have everything gonna be fulfilled. People think it's not. He got them somewhere. Don't get it twisted. He got it all prepared for you. He got Satan, Shaitan, right? He got everything. He's Shaitan like a lion. He lion-like. He got a face of a lion and the body of a human, right? He can do all types of stuff. And so his associates were frightened, right? So that's the only reason he's gonna do it. What happened when they slew all the people on the land with the lions? Everybody got scared. Let's get one of the priests. And guess what? Do ye also, therefore, my children, love Yahuwah, your Elohim of Shamayim and earth, and keep his commandments. And then what they said, and also they had the other gods. Even after Yahushua died, got beat in the head, right? Following the example of the good and Chdsh man, Yusuf. So who do you think you're following the example of when you get beaten in the head with who got beaten in the head with a reed? Who got sold to the high priest in the Qahalath? Who was that person? Yahushua Mashiach. So who do you think he was talking about? And let your mind be unto good, even as you know me. For he that hath both hath his mind right, seeth all things rightly. See, when you understand Yahushua Mashiach, you're seeing rightly. These other people can't see. And let your mind be unto good, even as you know me. For he that hath his mind right seeth all things rightly. Even your own sin, the things you do wrong, you see that rightly. Like, man, Yahuwah's going to. You know what? When you see it rightly. If you don't see it, then your mind ain't right. Remember I told you, if you did it properly, you should start see things in the summertime. If you ain't do it right, then you ain't do it right then. Because if your mind right, you should have other things in your mind trying to get your mind to go from being right to evil. Because everything's going to try to come at you because you'll be aware a lot more than what you were before. But if you don't recognize the things that's in your mind that's not right, then your mind is not right. But not even trying to be right. And that's a dangerous mind to have. Fear Yahuwah and love your neighbor. Because you know the Ruach of hatred don't listen to that commandment, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And even though the spirits of Baalar claim you to afflict you with every evil, because you know they're coming, yet shall they have not dominion over you. See, they ain't going to rule over you. See, I'm telling you. Even as they had not over Yusuf, my brother. How many men wish to slay him, and Elohim shielded him? He going to kill. People have no idea. How you think he going to shield you from people taking you out? He got lions, tigers, bears, jaguars, buffalo, bison, other creatures. He got other things to take him out. Whales. Eagles, Netzar, Malachim. Being shielded by their fear of Elohim. It says being shielded by the fear of Elohim. That's why you got to keep fearing him. Fear Yahuwah and turn away from evil. Through the love which he hath towards his neighbor. For Yusuf also besought our father that he would pray for his brother, that Yahuwah would not impute to them as sin whatever evil they had done unto him. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Isn't that what Yahushua did? You deserve a lion to come and take you out. You say, nah, yes you do. And thus Jacob cried out. And then what Yahushua did? My good child, what did he do? Thou hast prevailed over the bowels. Over the what? Over the bowels of thy father Jacob. What? Oh, you mean the Meah? What was supposed to swell? Your wound? What was supposed to swell? Your thigh fall away? Your bowels and make your wound swell by eating the curse. What did he do? And Jacob cried out, my good child, thou hast prevailed over the bowels of thy father Jacob. What did Jacob do? He was an Akab. He was a heel catcher. He grabbed the heel and make it swell. Isn't that what we just read? Participate, right? What's it called? He grabs your heel and make it swell. He a heel catcher. He prevailed over the heel catcher. Over your cold. The undermining sneaky, conniving, trickery, Yaakov, to steal whose inheritance? Esau's inheritance. He stole Esau's inheritance, dude. His deceitful tongue. He prevailed over the bowels of thy father, over the mayah, the abdomen, the uterus, the stomach, right, the swollen, the adulterous belly. You know how he did. He did. So he embraced him and kissed him for 2 hours, saying, he kissed him for 2 hours. In these shall be fulfilled the prophecy of Shamayim concerning the Lamb of Elohim, and the Savior of the world. And that a blameless one shall be delivered up for lawless men, and the sinless one shall die for the unrighteous men, in the blood of the covenant, for the salvation of the Goim and of Yasharal, and shall destroy Satan, Bailar, and his servants. Anyway, all y'all who did to all the Nabi'im, the ball, didn't he do that? He's destroyed them all. 450 of them. See, therefore, my children, the end of the good man. Be followers of his compassion. Therefore, with a good mind, that ye also may wear crowns. That you may wear crowns, Ketar, of Kabul. For the good man hath not a dark eye. The light of the body is the eye. And if the eye be, or the whole body is illuminated, but the eye be darkness, how great is that darkness? For he showeth mercy to all men. Even though they be sinners. They had Yahuwah, but they also had all the Baals and the gods with them, even after having a teacher who taught them the fear in the Torah. Like Ahab. He's saying, he say, love Ahab. And Isabel. Because Isabel had the same, they all worshiped, they had Yahuwah and then they had other gods. All these people were sinners. Now you see why, people say, why he say this? This is why he said this. And we're going to finish with this. I'm almost finished. I'm going to keep going because I keep going all day. All right, so this is Romans chapter 5 and verse 6. Romans chapter 5 and verse 6. Romans chapter 5 and verse 6. Romans chapter 5 verse 6. For while we were still weak, at the right time Mashiach died for the unrighteous. For one will scarcely die for a righteous person, though perhaps for a good person one would dare to die. But Elohim shows his love for us that in that while we were still sinners, Mashiach died for us, Yahushua. Yahuwah was in the Son, and he died for us. Since, therefore, we have now been justified by his blood. So what was the dog supposed to eat? When Isabel and Ahab, they supposed to lick up the blood of their dead bodies. Isn't that what he said? Why do you think Yahushua said, why do you think the woman said, you know the dogs eat the crumbs from the master's table? And where was that woman from? He said, the dogs eat the crumbs from the master's table. Since therefore we have now been justified by his blood, much more shall we be saved by him from the wrath of Elohim. So how you going to do it? I'm going to live this. Yeah, you can. But there's only one way you're going to be getting away from the wrath of Elohim. For if, while we were enemies, you know what Ahab said? Have you found me my enemy? Yahuwah's like, yeah, I found you. And all y'all who said, yeah, I found you my enemy. I found you. We were reconciled to Elohim by the death of his son. And then what they were, Omni and Timba, they were all divided. And Timba died. Matter of fact, and they both died too. Matter of fact, Ahab, you see how Ahab humbled himself? Man, you see all his sins going to go to his son. Not even knowing that the son was Yahushua Mashiach. Much more now we will be reconciled, that we be saved by his life. Follow his compassion. For by doing so, you will what? You will get a crown of kabod. More than that, we also rejoice in Elohim through our Master Yahushua Mashiach, through whom we have now received reconciliation. Going to Testament of Benjamin, chapter 1, verse 23. Be followers of his compassion, therefore, with a good mind, that you also may wear a crown of kabod. For the good man hath not a dark eye, for he showeth mercy to all men, even though they were sinners. They be sinners. And though they devise with evil intent. Oh man, how many people did that to you in your life? How many people have done evil intent to you concerning him? Huh? By doing good, he overcometh evil. Being shielded by Elohim, he loveth the righteous as his own soul. If anyone is glorified, he envieth him not. If anyone is enriched, he is not jealous. If anyone is valiant, he praiseth him. And a virtuous man he laudeth. On the poor man he hath mercy, and on the weak he hath compassion. Unto Elohim he singeth praises. He said he do what? Unto Yahuwah Elohim he singeth praises. And to him hath the Khan of the good Ruach, he loveth as his own soul. If therefore you have a good mind, then with both wicked men be at peace with you. Huh? If therefore ye also have a good mind, then will both wicked men be at peace with you. And the profligate will reverence you and turn unto good. And the covetous will not only cease from their inordinate desire, but even give the objects of their own covetousness to them that are afflicted. If you do well, even the unclean spirits will flee from you. If you do well, the clean spirits will flee from you, and the beast will what? Will dread you, not kill you. But where there is reverence for the good works and the light in the mind, even darkness will flee away from you. See, that's the whole point. He said the evil spirit is not going to touch you. All right, it's the book of Revelations, the book of Hazum. The book of Hazum, this is the book of Revelations. Book of Hazum, book of Revelations, chapter 6. The book of Revelations, book of Hazum, Revelation chapter 6 and verse 7. And when he opened the fourth seal, what's this, the fourth month? Look at it, this is the fourth month. What's outside? The animals, the creatures of the earth. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the four living creatures saying, say, come. And when Ezekiel, Yakaziel had the vision of the four living creatures. When Ezekiel had the vision of the four living creatures? In the fourth month. Revelation 6 and 7. And when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the four living creatures say, come. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And its rider's name was Death. And Hades followed him. And they were given authority over the fourth of the earth. Over what? What month is this? To kill with the sword and with famine. Wasn't there a famine in Samaria? And with pestilence. And with the wild beasts of the earth. Didn't Yahuwah send lions among the people when they didn't know the law of the land? And he slew, that's the fourth seal. That's the fourth seal. But he said, if you have a good mind, no evil spirits will come upon you. Right? It's a Nazarene, actually the Shalakim. How demons get power over men, women, and children. Therefore, demons, as we have just said, when once by means of opportunities afforded them to convey themselves through base and evil actions in the bodies of men, women, and children, if they remain in them a long time through their own negligence, because they do not seek after what is profitable for their inner beings, for their bowels, for their me'ah, they necessarily compel them for the future to fulfill the desires of the demons that dwell in them. But what is worst of all, at the end of the age, when that demon is co-signed to ageless fire, of necessity the Ruach that obeyed him will with him or her be tortured in ageless fires with his body it has polluted. All right, this is the first Aleph Yuchanan 2, 24 to 28. Let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. Because if you let what you heard from the beginning abide in you, you won't do what Adam and Qahalath did. It won't be a constant practice every single week. Because they fell on the 6th day and they didn't even get to the 7th day. If what you heard from the beginning abides in you, then you too will abide in the bin, the life of the house, and the father, the strength of the house. Why? Because his father and the son represents the actual household itself. They govern all the people. And this is the promise he has made to us, eternal life. This is the whole point. Because the promise is to the inheritance is to the priest. It was the word of Yahuwah. It was always the word, the bar of Yahuwah, that was the inheritance to the Kohanim. That's what Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov passed down to the families. It was always the bar. I write these things about those who are trying to deceive you. They are. They're trying to tell you that 12 tribes and the Yasharal have nothing to do with it. And the Yod is not greater than all. And Yahuwah's right hand ain't doing nothing. They're trying to deceive you because they don't want you to know this. But the anointing you receive from him abides in you, and you have no need that anyone should teach you. The only thing they can do is mimic you. They can't teach you. The only person that can teach you is the Kohanim. What did the priest do? He sent a priest to Samaria, and they taught the people all the law of the land. Because they didn't. The lions came and slew them. And if you mess around and you hit one of them, I assure you a lion coming to slay you. Why do you think when that man beat Yusuf, why do you think them people came and slew him? Why do you think Yahuwah is going to send a fourth seal on everybody because of all the things they did to his son? And they're going to be slain by wild beasts and pestilence and famine. Because that's all a part of his judgments. Because Yahuwah has never changed. He's just giving everybody a chance to repent. Because while we were sinners, Mashiach died for everybody. We shouldn't even have salvation. We shouldn't even have the understanding of it. You shouldn't even have a chance. You shouldn't even have an opportunity to have a good mind. You are undeserving of anything. You don't even deserve it. But as his anointing teaches you about everything, and it's true and it's no lie, just as it has taught you, abide in him. The only way you're going to be able to get eternal life, you got to abide in him. The only person who's going to die for a wicked person, a sinner, is Yahushua Mashiach and Yahuwah in the Son. And now, little children, abide in him, so that when he appears, you may have confidence and not shrink in shame at his coming. We just read that in the Testament of Benjamin. Some rose in righteousness, some rose in shame. But yet, Yahuwah say, while you were sinners, Mashiach died for you. Even though you got both. I got my God, and I have Yahuwah, I have my other gods too. He said, even though you have it. He said, I still show you mercy, even though you don't have it. And then he tells us, walk in that same compassion. Because as a human being, it makes no rational sense to live among people who are evil with idols and call on Yahuwah. The only person who can give you the power to do that is only one person who can do that. Especially in Yasharal. Sirach 3, 17 to 23, my son and daughter, go on thy business in Anu and meekness. So should I be beloved of him that is approved. How? You got opportunity to be a beloved person and actually speak to the bar or not. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. Now you see what? He see how Ahab humbled himself? There are other people who humble themselves in these writings too. And thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah, right? You see how he humbled himself? You see how he humbled himself, right? This is Testament of Adam and Kuah. This is the second book of Adam and Kuah. Second book of Adam and Kuah. Second book of Adam and Kuah, chapter 20 and verse 10. Second book of Adam and Kuah, chapter 20 and verse 10. Then sin increased among them greatly until man married his own sister or daughter or mother or others, or the daughter of his father's sister, first cousin, so that there was no more distinction of relationships, and they could no longer discern what was sin and what was not. That's what you see today. Because all these people cover up all these relationships and all these things, and now you got all these births and all these people all same family. You don't even know. You could be with your sister, you don't even know. You could be with your mother, you don't even know it. Your father birthed a child from her, and you don't even know it, and you had intercourse with her, you don't even know. Because everybody just sleeping around. Think how sick that is today. That's how the world is today. That's why Yahuwah casting judgment on everybody. This is the world, right? That's the world right now in 2026 AD. This is Adam and Kuah's second book. And guess what? So that there was no more distinction of relationships, and they could no longer discern, because you can't discern between good and evil. See, that's why I have to say certain things. Because people can't discern between good and evil anymore. He says, and they could no longer discern what was sin and what was not, but always were wicked, and the earth was defiled with sin. And they angered Elohim, the judge, who had created them. But Ginon gathered together groups, and played on horns and all other instruments we have already mentioned at the foot of the Qahalath mountain. See, this is what they do. They try to get you to they have all this sin, and then they start playing music with it. Well, all these different people don't even know you be incest, fornication, you don't even know what's going on. And then they want to play music with it and try to make it look like they righteous. And to the Qahalath mountain. They did that so that the children of Chdsh, who were on the Qahalath mountain, would hear it. That's all they want you to do. They want you to hear their little rotten music and hear their little thing with all their fornications. Everybody's sleeping around, and you don't even know. They're marrying mothers, brothers, sisters, brothers, sleeping around, incest. Don't know if you marrying your cousin or your brother, or uncle, your sister, or your mother. Your father had 10 children by 10 different women, and you don't even know that's your mother, or that's your father's wife. Right? You got all types of stuff going on, right? So they did that so the children of Chdsh were on the Qahalath mountain would hear it. But when the children of Chdsh heard the noise, they wondered and came by companies. And they stood on the top of the mountain to look at those below. Now they think Yahushua was on totality looking down at them. That's why I say you crucified with Yahushua Mashiach. Why do you think he was looking down at them? They watched them there, looking at him. You save the others, you can't save yourself. And guess what? This went on for an entire year. They're gonna try for a whole year to get you to talk to you, get you to hear the noise. And at the end of the year, Gershon saw that they were not being won over by him little by little. That's what they do. Little by little by little by little by little by little. They can't do it all at once. They gotta get you little by little by little by little, and then they got you. Shaitan entered into him. You see, when people start scheming and plotting and undermining like your code, that's what your code is. Your Satan gonna enter you now. You start doing that underhanded, that trickery stuff, that akab stuff, that heel catching stuff, Satan gonna get inside of your heart and your mind. He gonna find a way in. He got in there. And taught him to make the elements of dyeing garments in various patterns, and made him understand how to dye crimson and purple and whatnot. Isn't that what they put on Yahushua? They put on a purple robe and a crimson robe. Didn't they do that? They did that. Who do you think taught this one? I could say a whole bunch of other stuff too. He said what? And the sons of Cain, who worked all of this, shone in beauty and gorgeous apparel. And they gathered together at the foot of the mountain in splendor, with horns and gorgeous dress, and horses and races, and they were committing all manner of disgusting acts. Meanwhile, the children of Shath who were on the Qahalath mountain prayed and praised Elohim in the place of the host of the Malachim who had fallen. What? In the place of the host of the Malachim who had fallen. And Elohim had called them Malachim because he rejoiced over them greatly. And guess what? But after this time, they no longer kept his commandments. We just read this. That's what we was talking about. They no longer kept his commandments, nor were held by the promise he had made to their fathers. What was the promise? The inheritance of the priest was Yahuwah. And the promises that came to it was the word of Yahuwah. They no longer held to the promise. The Debar. They no longer held to it. But they relaxed from their fasting and praying. See? They relaxed. You got relaxed. No more sackcloth and ashes. No more humble Ayinu. No more of what Ahab did. You see how Ahab humbled himself? They relaxed. You start relaxing. And you know what happens when you relax? Who can I run? Bro, you gone. Caught up. You gone. You gone. You gone. You gone. But people say it's not a game. But he says, and from the counsel of Jared their father, and kept on gathering together on the top of the mountain to watch the children of Cain from a morning until evening. You got a morning and an evening sacrifice, but guess what you watching? You left the priesthood, because the priesthood had what? Morning and evening sacrifices. And now you watching. You watching. What do you mean watching? They got you. They got you, because when you fast, you got to cut all this stuff off. They got you now. They said, I got you. That's how he gets you. And they watched what they did, and they looked at their beautiful dresses and ornaments. Now, when you do that in the wintertime, do that now. Music fest. They got all types of stuff going on now. Man, there's all types of things you can do. You have a great time, wonderful time, wonderful, wonderful. And it'd be evening time. You'd be thinking like, what am I supposed to do? Then the children of Cain looked up from below and saw the children of Shah standing in the number of the top of the mountains, and they called to them to come down to them. And then what they did to Yahushua Mashiach? Come down from the crowd. Who'll believe in you? You be the son of Elohim. You be the king of Yasharal. You be the sons and daughters of Yasharal. Come down from the mountain, Yaakov, and we'll believe in you. For the mountain of Yahuwah shall be established on the top of the mountains, and exalted above the highest mountain, and all nations shall flow unto it. But if you give in to them telling you to come down, when they supposed to come up, because they supposed to ascend up to the mountain, you ain't supposed to come down, because they got to come up to you. So what happened? How did they get Jared to come down? They came up to the top of the mountain. And they looked all great and wonderful, and he got deceived, and he came down from the mountain. That's the whole point. And we're not talking about a literal, we're talking about your mindset. That's all they're trying to do. Enticement. But guess what? And they called to them to come down to them. But from above them, the children of Sheph said, we do not know the way. Then Genum, the son of Lamech, heard them say they did not know the way. And he began to think to himself a way that he might bring them down. Then Shaitan appeared to him by night, saying, there is no way for them to come down from the part of the mountain on which they live, but when they come out tomorrow to watch, say to them, come to the western side of the mountain. There you will find a stream of water that comes down from the foot of the mountain between the two hills. The marks the way. Come down that way to us, right? But he said, then Satan appeared to him by night, saying, there is no way for them to come down. But guess what Lamech said? Verse 18. But from above them, the children of Sheph said, we do not know the way. Right? He said, we don't know the way. Now you see why Yahushua came on the scene. People say, why he came on the scene? Because he trying to stop you. I'm trying to stop you. And the only way for me to stop you, I got to do something to you. Right, so this is the book of Yuchanan chapter 14 and verse 1. Yuchanan chapter 14, verse 1. See? Let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in Elohim, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If there were not so, then I wouldn't have told you that I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And you know the way to where I am going. Thomas said to him, Master, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way? You know what we just read in Genun said? And guess what? We don't know the way. We don't know the way. And they're trying to get you to come down from the mountain. He said, show them the stream on the western side. He said, come, that's the way. But Yahushua said, Yahushua said to them, I am the way, the truth, the Amath, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. That's why they won't come up to the mountain. That's why they won't come up. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. From now on, you do know me, him, and have seen him. Philip said to him, Master, show us the Father, and it is enough for us. Yahushua said to him, have I not been with you so long, and you do not know me, Philip? Whosoever has seen me has seen the Father. Right? Okay, he's trying to keep you on the mountain. He's trying to keep you on the heart, in the highest mountain. That all nations by you may be Barak. What was the Barak? The water that came down from the mountain. That's the Barak that was going down to them. The water that came down from the mountain, from the children of Chdsh. It was the water that was coming down from the mountain. That was the Barak. And they wanted to use that same water that was coming down from the mountain to get you to come down. When that water is supposed to actually make them come up. Where is this water coming from? Right, this is Sirach chapter 3, verse 18. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. He said, you don't want to relax. You start relaxing. Many are in high places of renown, but mysteries revealed unto the Aynu. Many are in high places of renown. The power of Yahuwah is great and honor with the lowly. It is. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search for things that are above thy strength. You don't need to look down there and see them. He said, I'm too high. They're going to always say you too high. That's going to always be in their mind. They said that to Yahushua the whole time. You too high. You way up there. You too high. You need to come down. That's the whole point. He already did. He came from the highest Shamayim to the earth. They thought that was high. They actually thought him on the cross was high. That wasn't even high. When he got back to the 7 Shamayim, that was the highest point. That wasn't even high. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search for things that are above thy strength. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence. For it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. Because as soon as you start looking, you start relaxing. And once you start relaxing, you're gone. Be not curious in unnecessary matters. He's like, man, that is... For more things are showed unto thee than men and women and children understand. Right? So we look at all that. We look at Yahushua Mashiach. We look at a lot of life. Look at the understanding. There's a lot more, but at the same time, look at his understanding. Look at the truth that will make you the Amath, that will make you free. For it's through him that we can dispel all the opinions of other gods and Elohim, and establish him in the top of the heart of the highest mountain, Yahuwah Elohim. So as we move forward in the front between our eyes, in the tops of our mind, he said the mountain of Yahuwah is going to be established in the top of the mountains and exalted above the highest mountain, above the hills, and all Goim and all nations shall flow to it. Knowing that they're going to flow to it, let us go up to the mountain of Yahuwah, and he may teach us of his ways, and we may walk in his paths. But they always trying to find a way to bring you down from your thought process and understanding. And these are all a part of it. That even at the hairs of your head, your 9 ether hair, even at the top of the mountains, when you get to the top of the mountain, your 9 ether hair, even as all these things that Kohes has the signals and understanding of what you are in the inward man is the highest point. Knowing that the mind even goes higher than the Keter. Even all these things are a part of your understanding in the inward man and the inward being. And if we look at ourselves, we look at our inward man, we look at our inward being, we know that the understanding of these things is the transformation within oneself. One should become complacent, worship of the gods and other Allahims, and then one find themselves entangled in the very things that Yahuwah destroyed man for in the many times before. But scarcely for a righteous man will one die, let alone for a good man. But while we were sinners, while we were kata'a, sane, kina, Yahuwah died for us. When we provoked Yahuwah to kina, he died for us. And we may have an understanding. He said he has compassion on the righteous and those who do evil. But even as these things happen, we know that judgment to Yasharal first, then to the Goon. So he gets his children first before he gets everybody else. So he said, go on thy business, Aydah, so shall I be beloved him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The Aydah, the meek, shall inherit the earth.